When a struggling journalist named Erica Vale inherits a long-shuttered post office from a mysterious distant relative, she sees it as the perfect place to restart her life and possibly uncover a story. But once she moves in, she begins to receive strange, undeliverable letters addressed to the dead, postmarked decades ago. As she digs deeper into the building's history, she realizes that some letters were never meant to be read, and some doors never meant to be opened. Something was sealed in that post office long ago, something that's been waiting to be delivered. Chapter 1: The Inheritance. The wind howled across the cracked parking lot of the old Willoughby post office, whistling through shattered windows and hollow mail slots like a chorus of whispers. Erica Vale pulled her coat tighter, staring up at the moss-covered facade of the building she now legally owned. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered. The building looked more like a condemned ruin than an inheritance. The sign above the entryway had lost half its letters, so it read simply, "O-U-A-I-L-L-O-S-T-O-F-F." The front doors were chained shut, rusted links biting into the warped wood like iron teeth. From the street, the place looked like it had been forgotten for decades, and it had. Erica's boots crunched over glass as she stepped closer. All she had was a manila envelope sent to her 2 weeks ago, containing the deed, a letter from a lawyer she'd never heard of, and a single line of handwriting in flowing cursive. "Let sleeping letters lie." It felt like a joke. But Erica needed this. After getting laid off from her job at the Sanford Beacon, a regional paper she had given 10 years of her life to, she had nothing but a severance check, an overdrawn bank account, and a storage unit filled with dusty notebooks and unpaid parking tickets. She had come to Willoughby hoping to restart her career. Maybe she'd turn the building into a writing retreat. Or dig up some history and pitch it as a piece to Ghosted Weekly. Anything to stay afloat. What she didn't know was that this building hadn't just been abandoned. It had been sealed. She found the back entrance unchained. It creaked open with a breathless groan, and the air inside was heavy, dry, musty, and strangely metallic, like blood on copper. Dust swirled in the flashlight beam as she stepped inside, brushing cobwebs from her face. Inside, the layout was exactly what you'd expect from a mid-century post office, a long service counter lined with rusted brass cages, piles of undelivered mail, empty shelves behind the counter, a break room, and a basement staircase marked employees only. But the strangest thing was how untouched everything felt. As though everyone had left in the middle of a workday. Open envelopes lay on desks. Coffee mugs still sat on tables, their contents long evaporated. There was even a yellowed bulletin board with faded memos about holiday staffing and someone's birthday party from 1976. Erica wandered deeper, pushing open office doors and breathing in the stale remnants of time. In the corner of the sorting room, she found a locked door. It had no handle. Only a brass mail slot. Etched above it in worn cursive letters were the words, "Dead letters." She knelt and peeked through the slot. Darkness. Not even the beam of her flashlight could penetrate it. "Creepy," she whispered. But as she turned to leave, a metallic clink echoed behind her. She spun back. A letter had just fallen through the slot. The envelope was thick and yellowed, the address inked in spidery black handwriting. To Mr. Edmund Kerrigan, deceased. Postmark, October 13, 1959. Her breath caught. She flipped it over. The return address was blank. So was the stamp. And yet it was worn to the touch, like it had just been sealed. That night, Erica sat on the floor of the old break room with the letter on the table beside her. A single camping lantern glowed orange in the dark. Her laptop, dead. Phone service, none. She'd only planned to stay one night, just to scout the place out. But the letter kept nagging at her. She hadn't opened it yet, unsure if she should. Eventually, curiosity won. She peeled it open. Inside was a single sheet of thin, crackling paper. It read, "Edmund, you think I don't know? You think I'll stay quiet? You think they won't find out? I heard the child crying. I know what's behind the wall. You can't bury it forever. M." Erica read the letter again. And again. Something about it felt off, not just in content, but in temperature. The air around the letter felt colder now. The lantern flickered. Then, a sound from the hallway. Like dragging footsteps. She froze. Her hand slowly reached for the lantern as the footsteps paused just outside the break room door. Thump. A knock. 3 slow raps. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then, SHHHHHHHK. A second letter slid under the door. Erica sat frozen on the dusty linoleum floor, staring at the second envelope that now lay silently on the threshold of the break room door. Her breath caught in her throat as if the air around her had turned solid. Outside the door, nothing. No sound. No movement. Just that damned silence. Her mind raced. Someone is here. Someone has to be here. But she'd been alone. She was sure of it. The locks, the sealed doors, the suffocating stillness of the place, it wasn't just abandonment. It had been isolation. She crept forward and picked up the envelope. It was nearly identical to the first, aged paper, a brittle texture, no stamp. The only thing different was the name. To Abigail Kerrigan, deceased. Postmark, October 17, 1959. Kerrigan again. The same surname. That couldn't be a coincidence. She opened it with trembling fingers. This time, the note inside was longer. Neater. More desperate. Dearest Abigail, I know he won't stop. You need to leave while you still can. The noise in the walls isn't rats. You know that. I tried to tell the sheriff, but he's in on it. So is Father Monday. The whole town is rotten, Abigail. I don't know how much time we have. Burn this letter. Don't let him know you received it. M. Erica's eye scanned the page 3 times. Each pass made her skin crawl deeper into itself. These weren't love letters. They were warnings. Confessions. Who the hell are you, M? She whispered. The next morning came slowly. Erica had hardly slept. Every creak, every groan of the old building sent a jolt down her spine. She checked every door, every corner, every room, nothing. No signs of forced entry. No footprints in the dust. No one had been there. And yet, the letter had been delivered. She stood in the sorting room again, facing that locked door with the dead letter's mail slot. The metal looked older today, darker. She wasn't sure if that was just her imagination, or something worse. She knocked on it once. Nothing. She waited, watching the mail slot, expecting another SHHHK of paper sliding through. Nothing. She whispered, "Who's sending these?" As if in response, the ceiling fan above her sputtered and began to spin, slowly, dust flying in wide arcs. A bulb somewhere in the far office flickered on with a sickly yellow glow. The building was waking up. Erica left that day. Drove 30 miles back to the motel just to shower and charge her laptop. She began digging. A search on the Kerrigan family brought up nothing recent. But buried in the Willoughby Historical Archive, she found an article dated November 3, 1959. Local postmaster found dead in locked basement. Edmund Kerrigan, 57, was discovered deceased in the basement of the Willoughby post office late Monday night after neighbors reported a foul odor. Sheriff Garland reported no signs of foul play, ruling the death accidental due to a fall from the staircase. However, some community members have voiced concerns regarding unusual activities at the post office in the weeks leading up to Kerrigan's death. Notably, Kerrigan's wife, Abigail, was reported missing just 3 days prior. Her whereabouts remain unknown. Erica leaned back in her chair. Her stomach twisted. 2 names. Same year. Same place. A dead postmaster. A missing wife. And someone was trying to warn them through undelivered letters. She searched for Sheriff Garland. Nothing after 1960. She searched for Father Monday. An obituary in 1961, sudden cardiac arrest, found in the confessional booth of St. Ignatius Church. Everyone connected to the Kerrigan seemed to vanish or die under odd circumstances. The whole town, as the letter said, might have been rotten. Erica returned to the post office that evening just before dusk. The sun poured orange light through the broken front windows, casting slanted shadows like prison bars. She hadn't even stepped inside when she saw the third envelope, lying at the foot of the front door. It hadn't been there when she left. It was addressed to her. To Erica Vale. Postmark, not applicable. Her pulse hammered. She picked it up slowly, afraid of the cold that had accompanied the others, but this one was warm, almost too warm. Like it had come from someone's hand just moments ago. She peeled the flap open and unfolded the paper. You shouldn't have come back. You opened the first one. That's how it begins. They'll know now. Get out. Before the next letter comes. M. Erica's throat went dry. This one wasn't from the past. It was for her. And whoever M was, they weren't just a ghost from history, they were watching her. Now. She backed away, scanning the street. Empty. Dead trees. Hollow windows in the buildings across the street. No cars. No pedestrians. Willoughby had turned into a ghost town long before she arrived. But someone was watching. That night, Erica didn't sleep in the break room. She stayed near the main lobby instead, camping on the floor behind the counter with her back against a steel filing cabinet and a crowbar within reach. The lantern flickered constantly now. Sometimes it went out for 5 seconds. 10. Then flared back to life without her touching it. And the letters kept coming. A fourth slipped through the dead letters slot around midnight. A fifth arrived beneath the front door at 2:03 a.m. A sixth appeared inside the break room without any of the doors opening. She spread them out across the floor and began organizing them, taping yellowed pages to the wall and connecting names, dates, and clues with a red marker from her bag. The building had become a scene from her nightmares, a mail-slick murder board, an archive of someone else's secrets. One of the letters, written in trembling hand, stood out. I saw them dragging something down the stairs. It screamed. Then it didn't. They locked it in the vault. I think it's still alive. It dreams in static. It waits for the mail. Erica circled it. The vault? She hadn't found a vault. At least not yet. By sunrise, something had changed. The walls felt heavier. The air, thicker. Her movements echoed less, like the building itself was swallowing sound. She returned to the dead letter's door and placed her hand on the brass slot. It was cold now. So cold it hurt. Then she heard it. Scratching. From the other side. Like nails. Then a whisper. Faint. Like paper sliding across stone. Erica. She stumbled back. But the scratching grew louder. Someone was on the other side. And it knew her name. Erica stood frozen in the sorting room, her breath caught in her throat, the cold brass mail slot still echoing the whisper of her name. Erica? It hadn't been a trick of the wind or the groan of old pipes. It was a voice. Wet and dragging like breath through a soaked rag. And it knew her name. She took a cautious step forward, heart racing, and pressed her ear to the locked door. Nothing. Not even the scratching now. She was about to back away when the building shifted. A slow, groaning sound reverberated through the walls, like the old bones of the place were being forced to remember something they had long buried. The floor beneath her feet sank. Only an inch, but enough. Erica stumbled, catching herself on a support beam, and watched in wide-eyed horror as dust spilled from the edges of a cracked tile in the center of the room. Something underneath had just moved. A hollow sound echoed from below. Not pipes. Not dirt. A void. The vault. Erica didn't wait for the letters this time. She grabbed her crowbar and pried up the loose tile. Beneath it was a trapdoor, wooden, reinforced with rusted iron. There was no latch, only a deep gouge in the center where a handle must have once been. The floorboards around it had faint markings, almost like symbols or writing scorched into the wood long ago and now nearly erased by time. She wedged the crowbar into the seam and pushed. The trapdoor groaned open, exhaling a plume of air that reeked of mildew, metal, and rot. She gagged and waved it away. Beneath was a short ladder leading down into darkness. The beam from her flashlight barely cut through it. For a moment, she considered leaving. Just walking away. Driving back to the motel and never returning. But then she saw it, lying beside the open trapdoor. Another envelope. Unfolded this time. No address. No name. Just a single line. It dreams in static. Do not wake it. Erica climbed down. Each rung of the ladder creaked beneath her weight, and the air grew colder the further she descended. The walls were stone down here, rough and wet, like the basement of a forgotten cathedral. The smell of damp paper and old blood hung thick. At the bottom, her boots hit dirt. She stood in a low, narrow hallway lined with wooden mail cubbies. The wood was warped with age, many of the slots still holding unsent letters, some so decayed they crumbled at her touch. The hallway curved left, deeper into the dark. She followed it. At the end, she found the vault. It wasn't what she expected, not a bank-style safe, but a massive, sealed iron door set into the stone wall, reinforced with rivets and covered in the same sigil she'd seen scorched into the floor above. One handprint was burned into the center of the door. Human-sized. Blackened. Erica reached out but hesitated inches from touching it. Then a voice, not from behind the door, but inside her own head. It was never meant to be opened. She recoiled. The sound hadn't come through her ears. It had bypassed them, thoughts that weren't her own. Then came a new sound, more real this time. Echoing down the hallway behind her. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Not boots. Not shoes. Bare feet. She killed her flashlight and backed into the shadows. The steps grew closer, a rhythm like a ticking clock. Thock, thock, thock. Erica crouched behind the mail cubbies and held her breath. Around the corner came a figure. Tall. Emaciated. Pale. Its skin sagged like wet paper. Its limbs were too long, and its head turned slowly side to side, as if sniffing the air. Its eyes were dark, sunken pits, yet they seemed to see in the pitch black without issue. In one hand it held a leather mail satchel. In the other, nothing. But its fingers twitched constantly, as if itching to grasp something. It paused. Sniffed the air. Its head twisted toward the vault. Then slowly, it bowed. Not to the door. To what was behind it. The creature whispered something Erica couldn't hear, then reached into its satchel and pulled out an envelope. It knelt and slid the letter under the vault door. And as it did, the sigils on the iron began to glow. Dull red, then brighter, pulsing in time with the creature's breathing. The vault door shook once. Twice. A deep groaning sound, something ancient shifting in its sleep, echoed through the tunnel. Erica bit down on her fist to keep from screaming. Then, mercifully, the creature stood and turned. And walked back into the dark. Erica stayed frozen for nearly an hour after it disappeared. Then she ran. Up the ladder. Through the sorting room. Out the back door. Into her car. She drove until Willoughby disappeared behind her, until the buildings and trees became blurs and the sky cracked with distant thunder. But she didn't go back to the motel. She drove straight to the nearest library. And started digging deeper. Willoughby Post Office, she learned, had been closed in 1960 after a string of unexplainable incidents, as vague local records put it. 2 employees vanished. A third suffered a mental breakdown, claiming the letters screamed every time she touched them. There were rumors of a secret basement vault constructed during Prohibition. Some said it was used for hiding moonshine, others that it was a fallout shelter. But no plans existed. No permits. It wasn't even on the building's blueprints. Only one article hinted at anything resembling what Erica had seen. A column from an underground paper called the Hollow Report dated 1972. The Willoughby Vault is a wound in the skin of the world. It was never meant to open. But letters are like prayers. Eventually, something answers. Erica's hands trembled as she closed the book. Because she had opened a letter. And now, something had answered. That night, at a truck stop motel 2 towns over, Erica opened her bag to find another envelope inside. She had unpacked it. She didn't remember seeing it before. It had no stamp. No address. Only a symbol drawn in red wax on the flap. A spiral, with lines branching out like veins. She broke the seal. The vault is waking. Every letter is a key. You've turned the first lock. Return before the 7th arrives. Or it will open without you. M. Erica didn't sleep that night. She sat in the rickety motel chair by the window, the 7th letter open on the table beside her. The spiral wax seal lay curled like a broken spider's leg, and the message kept repeating in her mind like a chant. You've turned the first lock. Return before the 7th arrives. But what did it mean? If the first letter had started all of this, what was the 7th supposed to do? Outside, the world looked normal. Highway lights flickered orange over passing trucks. The hum of vending machines in the hallway and the distant whine of crickets grounded her, almost. But deep in her bones, Erica felt like she was balancing on the edge of a long-forgotten ledge. Something beneath her was waking up. And it knew her name. She stared again at the letter's final line. Or it will open without you. She didn't want to go back to the post office. Every fiber of her being screamed don't. But the other option was worse, leaving that vault to open on its own. Whatever was behind it, whatever had been sealed with burned sigils and blackened handprints, was not meant to see daylight. She could feel it in the marrow of her teeth. So before dawn, she packed up her bag, crowbar, camera, flashlight, and every piece of paper she'd taken from the post office so far. She left a note on the motel room nightstand, just in case she didn't come back. It read, "If you find this, don't open the letters. Burn them. Seal the vault. And for God's sake, don't read your name. ****. Erica returned to the post office just as the sun broke over the hills. The building looked different now, almost expectant. Its decayed bricks and boarded windows stood at attention like rotten sentries. The moment she stepped inside, the air changed. Heavy. Charged. Like the inside of a church during a lightning storm. Dust drifted through the shafts of light like ash. On the service counter, waiting for her as if placed just minutes before, was the 7th letter. She approached it slowly. The envelope was darker than the others, thick grey paper that felt more like skin than parchment. No return address. No postmark. But this time, there was no spiral. Instead, the wax seal bore a different symbol, A. She didn't wait for the whisper in her mind. She pressed her palm against the blackened handprint. It fit. A low thrum vibrated through her skin, like touching a living engine. The glow of the sigils pulsed faster now, syncing with her breath. Something behind the door stirred, shifting, slow, like a leviathan dragging its bulk through tar. She felt something wet drip onto her shoulder. She looked up. Another letter was stuck to the ceiling. How? But before she could process it, the door let out a deep, shuddering groan. And began to open. It didn't swing like a normal door. It peeled. Layers of rusted iron folded back like flower petals, hissing and snapping as they curled outward. Beyond it was not a room, but a chasm. A void. A gaping vertical wound in the earth, lined with mail cubbies that stretched down into infinity. Thousands. Maybe millions. And each cubby pulsed with light, red, white, violet, colors that didn't belong in the natural world. The vault smelled of ozone and burnt teeth. From deep within, Erica heard something move. Then, a voice. But not a whisper. 1,000 voices speaking in unison. The seventh has arrived. The eye is no longer closed. The postmaster returns. A shape moved in the dark below. Huge. Towering. But not one thing, many. Twisting and twitching like a collection of limbs trying to remember what a body is supposed to look like. It began to rise. Erica turned and ran. Up the ladder. Through the sorting room. But the walls weren't the same. Every surface now throbbed with pulsing veins of light. The building breathed. And the hallways were changing. What should have led back to the lobby now opened into a maze of narrow, bending corridors, each one lined with post office boxes, most of them bleeding ink from their seams. She stumbled into the break room and slammed the door. There, on the table, was the seventh letter, torn open. She hadn't opened it. She stepped forward, slowly, and read the message inside. It is awake. The postmaster cannot be stopped. But he can be bound. Deliver the eye. Erica blinked. Deliver the eye? The wax seal. The closed eye. She reached into her pocket, but the envelope was gone. On the far wall, the vent cover began to rattle. Then burst open. The creature she had seen before crawled out, no longer tall and gliding, but twisted and broken, dragging its body like a puppet with snapped strings. Its face had split open into a yawning mouth, revealing rows of paper-cut teeth, stained red. In one trembling hand, it held her name. Not a letter. A piece of her journal. The page with the motel note. If you find this, don't open the letters. Burn them. Seal the vault. And for God's sake, don't read your name. The creature read it aloud, voice crackling like static. Erica Vale. And then the wall screamed. Everything shifted. Reality tore sideways. Erica was standing in the sorting room again. But it was no longer old, or dusty, or broken. It was alive. Bright fluorescent lights flickered overhead. The air smelled of ink and burning flesh. The mail cubbies were filled with twitching hands reaching out. Letters flapped like birds, screeching her name. And in the center of the room stood a man in a postmaster's uniform, tall, grinning, eyes sewn shut with black thread. His chest bore a gaping hole, filled with writhing paper. The postmaster. He spoke without opening his mouth. A letter undelivered is a soul unclaimed. But now, the mail has found its way home. He raised one hand. The eye symbol burned into the wall behind him. Erica screamed. And then... silence. Silence. Total and immediate. No flickering lights. No howling letters. No reaching hands. The sorting room was empty again. Erica lay on the cold floor, her head pounding, breath shallow, ears ringing with the echo of something that had torn through reality itself and then sealed shut behind her. She sat up slowly. The walls were still stained with faded ink trails, and the overhead lights buzzed weakly, flickering in a soft strobe. But the postmaster was gone. Had he even been real? Had any of it? She looked down. Her arms were covered in tiny cuts, paper-thin slices, some shallow, some weeping slowly. Ink-black residue oozed from a few of them. She scrambled to her feet and back toward the hallway. Her eye scanned the room, nothing. No moving letters. No whispers. Just the faint creak of the building settling into its decay once more. But on the wall where the postmaster had stood, the eye symbol remained, burned deep into the plaster like a scar on skin. Beneath it, in blocky red type, appeared a phrase that hadn't been there before. Return to sender. Erica stared at it. Her mind flashed back to the letters, each one marked with no return address, postmarked decades ago, sent to the dead. And now one had been addressed to her. That seventh letter, the I, was gone. Stolen. Consumed. Had she failed? Or had the I been delivered? Return to sender? A phrase so common, so harmless. But here, it sounded like a threat. Erica moved through the post office like a ghost. She wandered past the counter, through the customer service lobby, past rotted promotional posters of smiling 1950s cartoon mailmen. She pushed open a side door and found herself in the employee hallway. A buzzing light above a door labeled Postmaster's Office flickered erratically. The handle turned easily. Inside, the room was intact, untouched by time. The desk was polished, papers neatly stacked. A porcelain mug still held the faint ring of coffee along the rim. The walls were lined with filing cabinets. And behind the desk hung a framed photo of Edmund Kerrigan, the original postmaster. His eyes were pinpricks of shadow in the grainy photograph. As Erica stared, a chill ran down her spine. His uniform was wrong. It wasn't the standard 1950s postal navy blue. It was darker, tailored. And on his breast pocket, he wore the same I emblem from the letter's seal. The caption read, Edmund Kerrigan, Postmaster General. Willoughby Branch Number 23. 1953 to 1959. Branch Number 23? Erica leaned closer. Her breath fogged the frame's glass. Something scratched behind the cabinet. She spun, crowbar raised. But it was only a drawer. Slightly ajar. Inside was a folder labeled Undeliverable, Case, Abigail K. Erica flipped it open. A death certificate. Except it wasn't signed. No cause of death. No date. Beneath it, a note scrawled in panicked handwriting. She opened the wall. She heard the child. They fed her to the vault. Erica dropped the folder. The vault again. It was always the vault. And now that she'd opened it, it was feeding again. A sudden pounding shook the building. 3 knocks. Heavy. Measured. Boom. 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 They came from the lobby doors. Erica ran to the edge of the hallway and peeked around the corner. The front doors, still chained shut, were bulging outward, as if something massive were pushing from the other side. Then, the glass shattered. But no one entered. Instead, letters, hundreds, poured into the building. They streamed in like water, swirling in the air, spinning in chaotic spirals. Some struck the walls and stuck, others hovered mid-air. One floated straight toward Erica and stopped inches from her face. She grabbed it. No wax seal. No name. Just a single phrase on the front. Do not return unopened. She turned it over. A voice exploded inside her skull. You have read your name. You cannot unread it. The mail must move forward. Erica dropped the letter. It burst into ash in mid-air, leaving behind the scent of scorched wood and rot. The other letters began to spin faster. A cyclone of pages filled the lobby. Torn envelopes. Handwritten notes. Typewritten screams. Obituaries. Threats. Pages ripped from journals and newspapers and minds. And at the center of the storm, a figure formed, floating above the ground. Limbs made of bound letters. A torso of twine and wax seals. Its face a torn envelope smeared with a Rorschach ink blot that seemed to move when stared at too long. The courier. It extended a hand. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You received your 7th. Now you must deliver. Erica shook her head. I don't. What does that mean? The courier tilted its head. The ink blot twisted into a smile. Return the eye. To the sender. or become the new postmaster. No, she whispered. No, no, no. The room blinked. When she opened her eyes, she was standing before the vault again. The door was open, and something was climbing out. Its arms were too many. Its mouth opened on all sides. It was wearing Kerrigan's uniform, but twisted, warped, stitched from mailbags and bound soles. At the center of its chest was a glowing eye. The eye returned, the creature rasped. But it wasn't looking at her. It was looking past her. The courier hovered nearby, nodding. Delivered. The vault behind them screamed closed. The creature stepped forward. The eye flickered. Erica couldn't move. Not because she was frozen in fear, though she was, but because her name was being peeled from her mind like a postage stamp soaked in acid. She felt herself being erased. You are now or the 9th. Erica collapsed. Darkness folded over her. She woke on the floor of the lobby. Dusty. Cold. Alone. The building was quiet. No pulsing lights. No storm of letters. It was as if it had all reset. She stumbled to her feet and saw a new envelope on the counter. Fresh. Sealed. Waiting. It read, to Jennifer Blake. Postmark, the 16th of June, 2025. From Postmaster E. Vale. The letter sat on the counter like a loaded gun. Erica stared at her own name in the sender's slot, E. Vale, typed neatly in jet black ink on the back of the envelope. She hadn't written it. She hadn't sent it. But there it was, undeniable. She was the postmaster now. The moment her fingers touched the envelope, a pulse shot up her arm. Not pain exactly, more like a warning. The kind of sensation you'd feel moments before a fall or a fever dream. The paper was impossibly cold, but the ink was warm, as if it had been written in blood that hadn't yet dried. She turned it over. The recipient, Jennifer Blake. A name she didn't recognize. But deep in her chest, something stirred. Recognition without memory. A faint echo of a feeling she couldn't place, like déjà vu from someone else's life. And the postmark, today's date. Someone was expecting this. Or had already received it. She tucked the envelope into her coat pocket and backed away from the counter. The post office was quiet. Still. Like it was holding its breath. But as Erica turned toward the exit, she noticed something that hadn't been there before. A new door had appeared behind the sorting desk. Modern. Steel. And on it, in red painted lettering. Dead letters, branch 9. Beneath it, a handprint panel blinked. Red. Awaiting access. She stepped forward, hesitating. The air here was different, cleaner, colder, almost sterile. This was no relic of the past. This door was active. Recent. Maintained. She reached out and placed her hand on the panel. It turned green. The door hissed open. The hallway beyond was unlike anything Erica had seen in the post office so far. The walls were smooth, matte grey, like the inside of a bunker or high-security lab. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in evenly spaced panels. It smelled of bleach and static. No dust. No decay. No time. At the far end of the hallway was another door, unmarked. And beyond that, rows of desks. Hundreds. Each with a typewriter. A letter opener. A rubber stamp. Each one manned. Figures sat hunched at every station, men, women, some clearly not human. All dressed in uniform stitched from a patchwork of postal garments, funeral linens, and red-threaded seals. None looked up. They typed. Opened. Stamped. Folded. Delivered. Letters vanished from their desks and reappeared in mid-air above a large circular chute in the center of the room, where they were sucked down into darkness. Erica stepped forward, and no one acknowledged her, except one. At the nearest desk, a figure paused. It slowly turned its head. A woman. Or what was left of one. She had no mouth. No eyelids. Her eyes had been sealed with wax. Her fingers were missing their tips, worn down from decades of typing. Pinned to her uniform was a name tag, J. Blake. Erica froze. Jennifer Blake. The recipient of the letter in her pocket. But she wasn't receiving anything now, she was sending. Or worse, being used to do so. The woman cocked her head toward Erica, her skin cracking slightly with the motion. Her wax-sealed eyes smiled. "You're late," she said. No mouth. But the voice vibrated in the air. Erica took a step back. "What is this place?" Another voice echoed behind her. "The 9th." She turned. The courier stood in the archway. The ink blot on its face now shimmered like hot oil, twitching in silent laughter. Every postmaster becomes a node. A branch. A new delivery channel. You are one of 9. Soon to be 10. Erica's throat tightened. "I didn't become anything. I didn't ask for this. You opened the first letter. You read your name. You answered the vault." Each statement struck her like a punch to the chest. "You delivered the eye." Behind her, Jennifer Blake stood up. Her uniform hung loosely now, wax dripping from her fingertips. She held a letter addressed to Erica Vale. "Return to sender," she said softly. Erica stumbled back, panic mounting. The courier tilted its head. "You can't run from the mail, Erica. It finds everyone. Even us." Erica turned and fled. Back through the steel door. Through the sterile hallway. Out into the rotting shell of the old post office. But it wasn't just the post office anymore. The building was changing around her. Walls twisted. Doorways shrank. Floor tiles bubbled with ink. Voices whispered from inside the walls. "The 9th branch is active. Deliver the eye. Return to sender." Erica ran through the break room, but the door led to a funeral parlor. She burst through the sorting room, only to find it replaced by a train station, long abandoned, filled with suitcases made of stitched skin, each labeled with a different name: Kerrigan, Monday, Vale, Blake. She screamed. But the only answer was a loud ding, like a bell above a shop door. She turned and found herself at the front lobby again. Back to the beginning. Back to the counter. And there, lying patiently, was another envelope. This one was addressed in her own handwriting. To the vault. From Erica Vale. Final notice. She didn't remember writing it. She didn't remember sending it. But somehow, she knew it was hers. The moment she touched it, the eye burned on the wall behind the counter. The vault screamed open beneath the floor, and the world tilted on its axis. And as she was pulled downward, screaming into the hole between worlds, a chorus of voices chanted in unison. Dead letters must be delivered. And all postmasters return home. Erica fell. But it wasn't like falling through air. It was like falling through time. The world fractured around her layers of paper, envelopes, wax seals, torn notebooks, and scrolls of decayed parchment whipping past her in a storm of letters. Each page she brushed against flashed a memory not her own. A screaming child locked in a closet. A priest whispering prayers backward. A woman with her mouth sewn shut handing a letter to a mirror that refused to reflect her. She tumbled through it all until the storm suddenly stopped. Erica landed with a sickening thud. The ground was soft, too soft. Not earth. Not stone. It gave slightly beneath her, like wet cloth stretched over hollow wood. She lay there in the silence, breath ragged, hands trembling. Then the silence broke. A soft tick, tick, tick. Like a clock. But offbeat. Wrong. Erica sat up. She was in a room. Small. Dim, circular. The walls were lined with typewriters bolted into the stone, each one clacking away on its own, keys rising and falling with invisible hands. The pages they typed were fed into brass chutes that hissed every few seconds and sucked the letters down. And in the center of the room, floating above the floor, was a sealed black envelope. It turned slowly, as if caught in an unseen current. Its surface shimmered with symbols that changed as she looked at them: postmarks, barcodes, cryptic alphabets, blood-smeared stamps. She recognized none of them. But the name on the front was unmistakable. To the vault. From Erica Vale. Contents: first delivery. Her mouth went dry. She had no memory of writing this, of sealing it, of sending it. But somehow her signature was burned into the corner in silver ink. And even worse, she could feel something inside it. Moving. Breathing. A heartbeat. The envelope was alive. Erica stood slowly, every muscle aching, and reached for the floating envelope. The moment her fingers grazed it, her vision snapped sideways. She wasn't in the room anymore. She was on a street. Foggy. Dimly lit. Silent. The street signs were smeared and blurred. The buildings around her looked familiar but wrong, too tall, windows too small, shapes shifting when she wasn't looking directly at them. A mailbox stood at the end of the block. Its red flag was up. The envelope in her hand pulsed. Something inside it wanted out. She walked. Every step echoed louder than the last. As she neared the mailbox, she saw someone standing beside it. Tall. Still. Wearing a mailman's uniform that writhed like oil in water. No face. UST, the same I symbol, glowing faintly on its chest. The postmaster. He nodded as she approached. The first must be delivered. Erica's voice trembled. What's in it? What you sealed inside? I didn't seal anything. You did. When you opened the vault. When you read the seventh. When you returned to the place that forgot you. The envelope burned in her hands now, too hot to hold. The postmaster stepped back and gestured to the mailbox. Deliver it. Or carry it forever. Erica stared at the mailbox. It hummed softly, vibrating with unseen energy. She wanted to scream. To tear the envelope open and find out what was inside. To set it on fire and run. To wake up and find this all a nightmare. But she knew better. This was real. Real in the way some curses are real. In the way the past won't stay buried. In the way the truth doesn't ask for permission to return. She stepped forward, lifted the mailbox flap, and slid the envelope inside. The moment it disappeared, the world shuddered. The fog peeled back like skin. The building screamed and crumbled. The sky turned to paper and burned. And then, Erica was back. She stood in the Willoughby post office again. But not the same one. This version was clean. Sterile. Functional. Fluorescent lights shone brightly above. Dustless counters. Polished brass. Typewriters clicked behind the service windows, manned by grey-uniformed clerks with sewn-shut eyes. A red bell rang once. A screen above the counter lit up. Now serving 1:09. A letter appeared in her hands. It was pale grey. Empty. Unsealed. And next to her stood the courier. Its face a new shape now, an envelope split into 3 jagged flaps. Symbols crawled along its skin like ants made of ink. You have delivered the first. 8 remain. Erica staggered back. I never agreed to this. You delivered. You became. That is agreement enough. The clerk behind the counter gestured to her. A seat was waiting. The typewriter beside it hummed with anticipation. A blank envelope hovered just above it. Waiting. For the second. Erica sat down. The seat was ice cold. The typewriter adjusted itself as she touched the keys. Letters appeared one by one as if the machine knew what to type before she did. To unknown. From Postmaster number 9. Subject, second delivery. Contents classified. Seal with care. She stopped typing. Who receives the second? The courier's voice rasped behind her. A priest who turned his back on the mirror. A man who baptized blood. His sins were never confessed. Erica swallowed hard. She didn't remember this man. But something deep inside her did. A memory not her own. A memory from the vault. The typewriter continued. Location, St. Ignatius, lower chamber. Delivery method, in person. Escort, requested. She looked up. The courier extended its hand. Erica took it. And the world blinked again. She stood in the ruins of an old church. Charred pews. A collapsed altar. A broken crucifix hanging upside down from a blood-stained chain. And at the far end of the nave, a man in priest's robes, sobbing softly. He looked up. His eyes were missing. But he smiled. I knew you'd come, he whispered. I kept the confessional warm. Erica's hands trembled as the envelope appeared in her grasp. Second delivery. Sealed in blood. And waiting to be opened. The church was silent. Not with the silence of reverence, but with the silence of abandonment. The air was thick with mildew and ash. Burned hymnals lay scattered across the tile like forgotten prayers. Above, the broken bones of the rafters stretched out like skeletal fingers trying to claw their way free of the crumbling roof. Erica stood at the threshold of what remained of St. Ignatius Church, holding the second delivery in her hand. The man in priest's robe sat hunched beside the ruined altar, his hands folded as if still in prayer. His face, though shrouded in shadow, seemed vaguely familiar. Not in the way someone from her own life might, but like a photograph in an old obituary. One eye socket was hollow. The other sealed shut with candle wax. He smiled without teeth. I prayed for death, he rasped. But you sent something worse. Erica stepped forward. Your father Monday, she said. He nodded slowly. I was. She held out the envelope. This is for you. He did not move to take it. Instead, he tilted his head toward the broken altar. Underneath, he said, deliver it there. Where I bury the children. Erica froze. The words hit her like a brick to the chest. What? They called them miracles, Monday said, laughing softly. Children born after the blight. But they weren't. They weren't children. They were letters waiting to be read. The town never understood. Erica felt the envelope in her hand pulsing again, its warmth shifting to a slow, measured beat. Not a heartbeat. A metronome. She approached the altar. It was splintered in the center. The wood was charred but not collapsed. Kneeling, she found the seam, two planks unnaturally aligned. Beneath it, a faint symbol scorched into the stone. The eye. She reached into her pocket for the crowbar. Gone. Replaced with a letter opener. Old. Iron. The handle engraved with the number 2 and a barbed wire motif. Erica jammed it into the seam and pried. The altar split open with a moan like wind through bone. Beneath was a shallow pit filled with bones. Dozens of them. Small. Shattered. Wrapped in what looked like baptismal gowns stained black with rot and something darker. At the center was a rusted lockbox. The same box from the vault, etched with shifting symbols, still warm from within. The lid had a narrow slit in the center. A mail slot. Erica understood. She slid the second delivery into the slit. The moment it disappeared, the box screamed. The children's bones rattled violently. The church trembled as if it were being dragged downward into the earth. And then, The air fractured. Like glass. She was somewhere else. Not a church. Not a room. A memory. But not hers. She stood in a candlelit hallway. Old wood. Stone walls. A baptismal font to her left. And in front of her, a door-marked confessional. Sobbing came from inside. A child. Then a voice. You are not of God. You are not His creation. You are a mistake. Erica stepped toward the door. Her hand reached out. The world pulsed. And the voice inside screamed. The door burst open. Inside, a priest held a child by the throat, her eyes glowing faintly, her mouth sewn shut with rosary wire. Letters spilled from her wrists where veins should be. And the priest, Monday, looked up at Erica. His face collapsed inward, becoming a torn envelope, ink bleeding from his sockets. Too late, he whispered. Erica snapped back to reality. She was standing alone in the pit beneath the altar. The bones were gone. The lockbox, gone. The floor was stone again, cracked but cold. Father Monday stood behind her, arms crossed over his chest. His robes now perfectly clean. His face restored. Human again. I've been delivered, he said. Return me to the dead letter office. Erica stepped back. I don't know how. You will. He smiled. And crumbled into ash. The church darkened. The stained glass above the altar, though shattered, bled red light down the nave like blood through gauze. Erica turned. A figure stood in the doorway. Not the courier this time. Not the postmaster. Someone else. A woman. Tall, severe, dressed in a black mail carrier's coat buttoned to the throat. Her face was perfectly smooth, no features. Just a single red wax seal where her mouth should be. She stepped forward and handed Erica a new envelope. Its seal bore the number 3. Third delivery. Erica took it without a word. The woman did not speak. But inside Erica's head, she heard. 3 must be made. Before the vault sleeps again. The woman stepped back into the shadows. And vanished. Erica opened the envelope. The letter inside was written in jagged script, barely legible. The woods are not empty. They remember what the town does not. Find the well. Return the echo. Beneath the message was a name. To Henry Ashford. Location, the hollow tree. She folded the letter and looked toward the pulsing light bleeding from the broken glass. The world outside wasn't daylight. It was red. The dead letter system wasn't finished. And the third delivery was waiting. The sky outside the church was wrong. Erica stepped through the splintered doors of St. Ignatius and into a world painted in bleeding shades of crimson. The sun was no longer a sun but a red coin hanging low and unmoving in the sky, its light casting long, pulsing shadows. The wind didn't blow, it shivered, carrying the scent of old paper and distant fire. She stood alone in a forest now, though she hadn't walked there. A transition. A shift in delivery routes. There was no road behind her, no church in sight, only an endless stretch of blackened trees that moaned faintly when they swayed. The bark was brittle and cracked, peeling back to reveal pale wood beneath that almost looked like flesh. Clutched in her hand was the third delivery. The envelope was longer than the last 2. Made of a fibrous, bark-like material. The seal was not wax this time, but something that pulsed, almost organic. The number 3 glistened across it like a wound stitched shut. Stamped in the corner. To Henry Ashford. Location, the hollow tree. Special instructions, do not follow the echo. Erica read the last line 3 times. She was beginning to realize these letters weren't just deliveries. They were punishments. Confessions. Sometimes, warnings. Sometimes all at once. The deeper she walked into the forest, the less time seemed to pass. There was no sense of morning or night, no chirping of birds or buzzing of insects. Only the constant creaking of the windblown trees and the occasional shhhk of shifting branches. She passed signs carved into the trunks. Return to the root. The dead remember. Do not hear it twice. Eventually, the trees grew so tight that they formed a tunnel, a natural corridor where light barely filtered through. At the end of the corridor stood the hollow tree. It was massive. At least 30 feet wide, split at its base by a gaping, vertical maw. Its bark was blackened and wet-looking, and its hollow mouth emitted a faint hum, like the buzz of distant machinery. As Erica stepped toward it, the temperature dropped. Her breath fogged, but the ground beneath her feet steamed as if something hot was breathing beneath the soil. Then she saw him. A figure standing just within the hollow, half concealed in shadow. Tall. Thin. Barefoot. His eyes wide and unblinking, fingers trembling slightly at his sides. He stepped forward slowly. His face was etched with scars, symmetrical in pattern, like someone had written on his skin with a blade. "You've come to return it," he said, his voice a breathless whisper. Erica raised the envelope. "You're Henry Ashford?" He nodded. "I was. Now I'm just Echo." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "You'll understand when you hear it." She took a step back. "I'm not here to hear anything. I was told not to follow the echo." Henry's eyes flicked upward. "Then you already hear it. That's the trick." And with that, he turned and walked backward into the hollow tree, his body folding into the shadows like smoke drawn into a vacuum. Erica hesitated. Everything told her not to follow. But the letter grew heavier in her hand, hotter, pulsing now like a warning bell. She stepped into the tree. Inside, it was massive, far larger than the trunk would suggest. A vast spiral staircase carved from gnarled wood wound downward into darkness, the air vibrating with a low, almost inaudible tone. Every few steps, she passed carvings on the walls, scenes of children playing near wells, of letters being burned, of a figure with too many mouths whispering into the bark of trees. The further she descended, the more the walls seemed to breathe. Eventually, she reached the bottom. A wide, circular chamber with a well in the center, stone, ancient, its opening covered with tightly wound vines. Henry stood beside it, waiting. Erica approached slowly. The vines quivered. "This is where we dropped it," Henry said. "The first letter. The one not meant to be written." He gestured to the well. "The echo waits there. You don't hear it with your ears. You hear it after." Erica reached into her coat and removed the third delivery. She held it out to him. Henry stared at it as though she'd handed him a ticking bomb. "Do you know what this is?" She shook her head. He took it with shaking hands. "This is what I said. Not what I meant." He peeled open the seal. And the room screamed. Erica was no longer in the tree. She was in Henry's memory, sucked into it like air into a void. A forest. Not this one. Lush. Green. Children laughing. She saw Henry, younger, scribbling furiously into a notebook. His mouth moved, but the sounds came out of the trees around him. Words warped. The wind became voices. He threw the notebook into a well. "Return to sender," he whispered. Suddenly, the wind reversed and spoke his words back. Distorted. Inverted. Hungry. The children fell silent. Their faces stretched into terror. Then they fell, one by one, into the well, dragged by roots that grew from the sound. And Henry? Henry screamed. But it wasn't a scream of grief. It was recognition. He had heard this before. Erica gasped as she snapped back into the hollow tree. Henry was gone. Only his coat remained, neatly folded at the well's edge, a small letter resting atop it. The letter was addressed to her. To Postmaster Number 9. From H.A. Subject, echo returned. Inside was one sentence. It's never what you say. It's what the words become. The vines around the well loosened. One root slithered free and handed Erica a new envelope. Long. Slender. Sealed with wax so black it seemed to drink light. The number 4 shimmered on the back. She stepped out of the hollow tree. The red sky above was now darker. Like blood clotted and congealed. Something was watching from above. The forest was quieter. Too quiet. The courier stood waiting. His face now resembled a blank telegram, the words shifting like ants under vellum. You have delivered 3. 6 remained. The vault listens. Erica didn't respond. The roots of the hollow tree twisted into a path ahead of her, paved with sealed envelopes. And as she walked forward, the trees whispered. She delivers. She delivers. She delivers. The forest parted like curtains. Erica followed the narrow path of sealed envelopes, each one pressed into the soil like stepping stones. Some were singed at the edges, others waxy and damp. None addressed. None marked. And yet each one pulsed faintly as her foot pressed down, as if recognizing her weight. Her presence. The 4th delivery sat tightly in her coat pocket, searing like a hidden brand. She hadn't opened it. Not yet. She feared what it might do if she did. The envelope was longer than any of the others. Heavier. The wax seal was dark as void light and impossible to touch for more than a few seconds without her fingertips prickling with cold and a pressure behind her eyes like the beginning of a nosebleed. She'd tried reading the name etched into the front. There was none. Only 2 words, scratched into the paper in frenzied strokes. Recipient unknown. Beneath it, smaller, in a neater hand. Do not look for them. They will find you. The woods thinned after an hour of silent walking. The blood-red sky peeled back to reveal a grey dusk, the clouds hanging like smoke over a crumbling horizon. The courier was gone. The air felt still, expectant. Then she reached the road. A broken stretch of cracked asphalt winding through the trees like a scar. The forest ended abruptly on either side. Faded lane markers and a collapsed street sign marked its edge. It read, Welcome to Marrow's End. Population, blank space where numbers used to be. There was no town ahead. Only a rusted van parked crooked on the shoulder. And beside it, a mailbox. Standing alone. No house. No driveway. No structure to speak of. Just the mailbox, battered metal, dented, the red flag up. Its latch hung open, waiting. Erica stood in front of it and waited, uncertain. Nothing. No movement. She glanced back toward the forest. The trees were gone. The red light had vanished. Behind her was only fog. A wind stirred, curling up from the mailbox like the breath of something trying to speak through the cracks in reality. Erica reached slowly into her coat pocket. She pulled out the 4th delivery. Her hand shook. She reached for the mailbox slot. And froze. A sound. Far away. A voice. Calling. A whisper, yet somehow deep, distorted, as though spoken through a long pipe or from the bottom of a well. Erica? She turned slowly. Nothing. Fog. Road. Silence. She turned back. And the envelope was gone. Her hands were empty. The mailbox door had shut. She never placed the letter inside. Yet it had disappeared. The flag lowered with a soft clink. And a moment later, the road cracked open. The asphalt split in a line down the center, seams glowing red. Something rose from beneath it. Not a person. Not an object. A door. It emerged slowly, standing upright, hinges rusted, frame splintered, keyhole oozing a dark sap that steamed in the cold air. The number 4 was nailed to the center in crooked brass. There was no knob. No handle. Just a slot, like a mail slot, but wider. Human-sized. Erica took a step back. From behind the door, something knocked. Once. Twice. A third time. She wanted to run. But then the courier's voice, echoing faintly from the fog. You cannot deliver what was meant to be returned. The door creaked open. Inside was a room. Small. Dim. Wooden walls, yellowed lamplight, shelves filled with glass jars, each containing scraps of paper, fragments of letters, rolled notes floating in black fluid. At the far end, sitting in a leather chair, was a man. Or what had once been a man. He was thin. Paper thin. His skin flaked like old parchment. His eyes were hollow sockets, but from them drifted a constant stream of ash that disintegrated before it touched the floor. He held a letter in one hand. His other hand was missing, replaced by a sharpened letter opener driven into the wrist bone and wrapped in tendons. He looked up and spoke in a voice made of dust and guilt. I never meant to send it. Erica approached slowly. You're the unknown recipient. He didn't nod. But the room trembled faintly in confirmation. Some letters should not be written. Some messages cannot be taken back. And yet, they're always delivered. One way or another. Erica stared. What did you send? He looked down at the letter in his hand. It was sealed with a piece of his own skin. I sent her away. Erica stepped closer. Who? The man slowly held out the letter. She took it. On the front, it read, To my daughter. From Postmaster of Branch 4. She looked up at him. He was crying now, dust trailing from beneath skin that could no longer hold tears. I marked her undeliverable. But she came back. The vault heard her. Now she lives there. Between the lines. She became a letter. Erica felt her stomach twist. You're saying your daughter is inside the vault? No. She is the vault now. The door behind her slammed shut. Erica turned. A new envelope rested at her feet. Red. Burning. The 5th delivery. The label on it was hand-etched, in jagged block letters. To the Postmaster General. Location, the center of all letters. Special instructions, you cannot refuse this one. The old man rose from his chair. You'll need to go deeper now, he said. Erica felt the 5th burn through her coat like it wanted to crawl into her heart. She turned toward the door. The walls of the room collapsed into ash. The jars shattered, releasing words that floated like gnats in the void. And from the sky above, thousands of envelopes began to fall. Like snow. Each one whispering her name. Erica? Erica Vale. Postmaster 9. You deliver? You deliver? The rain of letters continued. They fell soundlessly, gliding down in a slow spiral, some landing with soft thumps, others dissolving before reaching the ground. Each envelope bore a different shape, color, or texture, some stitched shut, others sealed with bones, a few pulsing faintly as if they were breathing. And all of them whispered one thing. The 5th must reach him. The 5th must reach him. The 5th must reach him. Erica stood in the center of it all, the 5th delivery clutched tightly to her chest. It hurt to hold. The seal wasn't wax this time, it was metal. Silver, etched with the same spiraling eye symbol as the vault. It pulsed with every beat of her heart, like it was sinking with her. It knew her. And somehow, it knew where it was going. The old man, the unknown recipient, was gone. His chair, too. The room had crumbled into nothing. And beneath Erica's feet was no longer wood or stone, but a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Letters drifted down into it like snow into a well. The staircase had no rails. It wound downward in impossible geometry, folding into itself, spiraling through black void pierced only by brief flickers of light that resembled distant lightning or perhaps glimpses into other realities. Erica descended. Each step triggered a sound, not from her footfalls, but from the letters embedded in the stairs. Snatches of phrases she couldn't unhear. "We regret to inform you. Do not open this unless you remember. You were never born, not properly." Her body grew heavier the deeper she went. The fifth delivery pulsed stronger, feeding on the descent. Each time she tried to release it, her arm went numb. It would not be discarded. It would not be refused. After what felt like hours, or days, she reached the bottom. The staircase opened into an immense circular chamber. She was standing in what resembled a cathedral of mail. Pillars rose high into the darkness, built from stacks of envelopes and parcels, each one perfectly aligned. Thousands, no, millions, of filing cabinets lined the walls, some open and breathing like lungs, others chained shut with locks made of wax and sinew. In the center of the chamber was a desk. Not ornate. Not grand. Just a plain wooden desk, lit by a single lamp. Behind it sat a man. Or a thing? He wore a uniform, black, tailored, pressed. The Postmaster General. His face was obscured beneath layers of stamps. Old ones. Ancient. Some marked with dates and symbols that didn't belong to this reality. Where his eyes should have been were two blank address labels. His mouth was a sealed envelope. Yet he spoke. "You're late." His voice came from the typewriter on the desk, the keys clacking in perfect sync with the words spoken. Erica stepped forward, trembling. She held out the envelope. "Fifth delivery," she said. It's for you." The Postmaster General did not move. The envelope in her hands levitated, floated gently across the air, and landed on the desk. The General placed one finger, long and ink-stained, on the seal. It hissed. Then he opened it. The metal eye blinked once. And then the entire room collapsed. Not physically. Existentially. Reality unzipped. The walls folded in like origami, revealing corridors of letters stretching infinitely outward. Entire dimensions lined with mail slots. Courier routes that snaked through alternate timelines and abandoned fates. Paper skies, postal moons, oceans of undelivered words. And at the center of it all, the vault. Visible now in full. A black monolith of chained doors and melted stamps, locked shut with addresses long since forgotten. It breathed like a living thing. It was not underground or above, it was everywhere, a convergence point of guilt, secrecy, and intent. The fifth delivery had unlocked something. The Postmaster General stood. And for the first time, Erica saw his true face. Not a man. Not a corpse. He was a creature made of shredded regrets. 1,000 undelivered apologies. 1,000,000 final goodbyes. An infinite series of I'm sorrys no one ever sent. He opened his arms wide. You brought it back. The fifth that was never meant to be read. He held up the letter. It was blank. No ink. No message. Yet it radiated meaning. Do you know what this is? He asked. Erica shook her head. It is the only letter with no recipient. No destination. No sender. It is pure intent. The beginning of the system. The letter caught fire in his hands. White fire. And yet it did not burn him. It burned everything else. The mail world screamed. Folders burst into flame. Cabinets warped and imploded. The vault cracked. A sound like the end of a universe echoed through the space. Erica clutched her ears. The General looked at her. Now the question becomes, who delivers the sixth? He stepped forward and removed his coat. Folded it. Handed it to her. You wear this now. She tried to back away. I don't want to. Wanting isn't part of it. You have delivered 5. There are still 4. He placed the coat on her shoulders. It fit perfectly. The air around her thickened. Letters swarmed at her feet, stacking themselves into a staircase. A new envelope appeared in her hand. This one was cold. So cold it hurt to hold. The wax seal was silver again. But the number was burned into the envelope like a brand. 6. Stamped below it. Return to the place before names. The staircase began to rise. Back through the collapsing system. Back to the surface. Back to a place Erica didn't remember, but that remembered her. As she rose, the voice of the Postmaster General echoed behind her. The vault is bleeding now. Hurry, Postmaster! Before something answers. The staircase rose. Not through stone. Not through soil. But through time. Through memory. Each step pulled Erica away from the collapsing male dimension and toward something older, primal. The fabric of reality around her frayed with every heartbeat. Whispers curled up from the walls. Some called her name. Others begged her not to take the next step. But the 6th delivery burned in her hand. She had no choice. She climbed. And as she did, the world above began to come into focus. Not a place. Not a building. A void of silence. No wind. No color. Just nothing. And in the center of that nothing was a door. No frame. No handle. Just a floating slab of stone, carved with spiraling glyphs that flickered as she drew close. Each one shimmered like ink in water, rearranging themselves the closer she got. At the top of the stairs, the door opened. Behind it, blackness. Not darkness. Blackness. The absence of concept. A place that had never been touched by language. A space before meaning. The moment Erica stepped through, the 6th delivery stopped burning. It turned ice cold. She stepped into a circular chamber. Stone. Monolithic. Featureless. Except for the pedestal in the center. Upon it, a mirror. Tall. Narrow. Covered in linen. The walls were carved with words, millions of them, each chiseled so small that she could barely read any. Names. Phrases. Sentences that bled into one another like blood-soaked script. Erica moved to the pedestal. The mirror pulsed faintly behind the cloth. She unwrapped it. And stared. At her reflection. But it wasn't her. Not exactly. The reflection was younger. Wearing a red scarf she hadn't owned in years. Her eyes were softer, untouched by horror. Her skin unscarred by paper cuts and ink-stained bruises. The version of her before the letters. The mirror Erica tilted her head and smiled. Then opened her mouth. And screamed. But there was no sound. Only the movement of lips. And then, one word. Spoken not in the air, but inside Erica's mind. Before. The 6th delivery pulsed again. And then it opened itself. She hadn't touched the seal. The envelope flared with white light and vanished. In its place, a piece of her own skin. Wrapped around a sliver of bone shaped like a key. She gasped and stumbled back, the bone key clutched in her hand. The mirror cracked. And through the fracture in her reflection, she saw something crawling behind the glass. Not a person. Not a monster. A word. Alive. Hungry. Unwritten. The mirror shattered. The word spilled out. It slithered across the stone like liquid ink, reshaping itself constantly, one moment a tendril, the next a blade, the next a loop of letters biting their own tail. It wrapped around Erica's wrist and stopped. For a moment, nothing. Then, with a whisper like wet parchment. I remember your name. Erica's knees buckled. The name she had before all of this, the one she barely used anymore, flashed in her mind like lightning. Erica Vale. No, the thing whispered. Not that one. The first one. Before they gave you language. Before your birth was recorded. Erica trembled. What do you want? To be delivered. I am the sixth. I am the letter before all letters. Deliver me, and I will return what was taken. Erica stared down at the bone key. It began to glow. The ink thing melted into her skin. Her eyes rolled back, and she fell. When she awoke, she was beneath the post office, back in the vault. But the vault had changed. It was open now, not just the door, but the contents. The cubbies no longer held letters. They held people. Each one folded, stuffed, sealed, like parcels. Faces contorted in silent screams, hands stitched to envelopes, eyes bound with postmarks. One cubby bore her name. Vale, E. Inside, a blank figure, faceless, hollow-chested. Waiting. The bone key vibrated in her palm. Then the courier stepped forward from the dark. You've returned from the place before names. Erica turned toward him. His face was completely blank now. Even the envelope was gone. Only smooth, pale skin stretched over a head that no longer needed features. The sixth is within you now. It is the foundation. The first word. Deliver it. To the vault. Or the other letters will never sleep. She raised the key. The vault door pulsed. Waiting. She stepped to the center of the room, raised the key above her head, and drove it into the floor. The world howled. Ink rained from the ceiling. The walls peeled back into a spiraling library of living paper. And from the void above, a sound boomed, a massive voice, languageless and eternal, screaming its own name for the first time. It was not a word in any tongue. It was a concept. The concept of the message that births meaning. The sixth had been delivered. The courier dropped to one knee. 3 remain. Erica fell to her knees, clutching her ears, nose bleeding. A new envelope floated down from the ceiling. This one was alive. It twitched. Its seal was made of hair and breath. The number 7 burned into its side. And on the front, in red ink. To the listener who never spoke. Instructions, deliver at night. Speak no truth. Bleed no lie. The vault slowly began to close again. But something had slipped through. A shadow. It followed Erica as she turned to leave. A whisper curling through her ear like a poison. 3 more. But we only need one to open forever. The 7th delivery writhed in Erica's hand. Unlike the others, this one breathed. Every few seconds, it exhaled softly, as though the envelope itself had lungs. Its surface was warm, damp. When she tried to shift her grip, it pulsed like a small animal, alive, but wrong. Stamped into its surface in deep red ink were the words. To the listener who never spoke. Instructions, deliver at night. Speak no truth. Bleed no lie. And beneath that, scratched in something that might have been bone. Failure is a reply. The vault had begun to seal again behind her. The shadows that had slipped through still lingered, not visible, but present. Like heat on the back of her neck or a thought she couldn't quite shake. The courier said nothing now. He walked beside her, silent as a shadow, as she followed the envelope's guidance, not toward a door, or a hallway, but toward a whisper. They arrived at the edge of a forest, but not the same forest as before. This one was silent. Not quiet. Silent. No wind. No breath. No ambient sound. Even the rustling of Erica's coat felt muted. She tried to speak, to ask the courier where they were, but the moment her lips parted, the sound caught in her throat and collapsed, as if swallowed by the trees. The trees themselves were peculiar. twisted, smooth-barked and tall, their trunks forming natural archways and walls. From a distance, they looked like letters strung together in towering paragraphs of bark and shadow. As Erica walked beneath them, her steps left no echo. The path wound deeper, each turn leading to darker ground, denser roots. At last, they reached a small, roofless stone chamber hidden among the roots of a great black tree. In the center sat a figure. Still. Listening. The listener. He sat cross-legged on a slab of stone, surrounded by piles of letters, none of which had ever been opened. They were perfectly preserved, hundreds of them, stacked in towers as precise as monastic records. His skin was pale, almost blue. Thin veins of ink pulsed beneath it like circuitry. His eyes were wide open, but instead of pupils, there were stamps. Postage labels, smeared and blinking softly like dim lead screens. His mouth was sewn shut, but not crudely. Each thread was tied with the precision of a signature. When Erica stepped into the chamber, the listener raised a single hand. 2 fingers extended. He was waiting. She took a step forward and stopped herself. The envelope in her hand pulsed 3 times. A warning. She remembered the instructions. Speak no truth. Bleed no lie. She did not speak. Instead, she knelt before the listener and cut her palm with the edge of the envelope. Blood dripped onto the stone. The listener nodded, then gestured to a bowl at his feet. She bled into it, drop by drop. When the bowl was full, he took it, still silent, and dipped the 7th delivery into it. The envelope screamed. It twisted violently in his hands, trying to curl away, trying to flee. But he held it, and began to open it. Not with hands, but with his eyes. The stamps covering them peeled back one by one, each revealing a smaller and smaller iris, until, at last, there was nothing but void. He stared at the letter, and it opened itself. Erica saw what was inside. A mirror. Small. Round. Cracked. It reflected neither of them. Instead, it showed a darkened hallway lined with hanging lanterns. In each lantern was a floating eye, watching a narrow path that led to a single door. On the door, the number 8. The mirror pulsed with cold light, and a voice, not spoken, not heard, entered her mind. One cannot speak the final letters aloud. They must be written, he knew. The mirror shattered. The listener crumbled into ash. And a new envelope appeared in the air, hovering before her. It was clear. Glass. Fragile as breath. Inside it, a single word carved in crimson. You. Stamped on the back. 8. The forest darkened further. The courier stepped from the edge of the chamber. His form was different now, less human, more geometric. He was unraveling, slowly, like a forgotten language. The 8th is your own name. Erica shook her head. No. I already delivered mine. You delivered a version. The one you could pronounce. The next is the one you forgot. He extended a hand. You will go to the room of red silence. There, your name waits. Erica took his hand. The world folded around her again. She arrived in a room without light. Not dark. Lightless. Walls made of silence. Floor made of held breath. There was a table. A pen. A sheet of human skin stretched taut as parchment. At the top, a single line had been etched. Write the name the vault cannot speak. Erica stepped forward. The pen hovered in her hand before she touched it. The moment she wrote the first curve of the letter, she forgot her mother's face. The second, she forgot the smell of her childhood bedroom. The third, she forgot her own birthday. And with each stroke, the world around her brightened. Not with light but with meaning. The true name, the one before Erica, before birth records, before language, unfolded like a wound. The courier watched in silence. When she was done, she dropped the pen and screamed. She awoke on the cold tile floor of the Willoughby post office. Back at the beginning. But something had changed. She was holding a final envelope. This one was sealed with a thread of her own hair, wound around a bone fragment, fastened with a tooth. Number 9. Stamped in gold. To the one who sent the first letter. Instructions, you already know. Behind her, the vault door creaked. But it wasn't closed. It had never been. Not really. The post office was breathing again. The floor throbbed beneath Erica's knees, warm and faintly pulsing, as though she were kneeling on the chest of something vast, something slumbering. But not for long. The 9th delivery lay in her lap. The final envelope. Or so it claimed. It was sealed with her hair. A single strand wound tightly through a splinter of bone and fastened in place by a jagged, yellowing tooth. The paper wasn't paper at all, it was a thin layer of skin, marked with scar-like ridges, faint fingerprints woven into the grain. There was no sender listed. Just a golden stamp at the center. To the one who sent the first letter. Instructions, you already know. Erica stood. The front lobby of the post office was still and red-lit. Outside, snow fell, but it wasn't cold. The flakes drifted upward, vanishing into the dark rafters above. The sorting room beyond her was filled with dust and silence. But the vault, the true vault, hummed from below, its pull stronger than ever. The mail slot at the far end had changed. Once a small brass rectangle etched into the wall, it had grown. It now stretched from floor to ceiling, pulsing gently, like a wound scabbed in iron. The slot itself, wide enough to fit a man. Or a coffin. She stepped toward it. As she approached, the courier emerged from the shadows. His body was deteriorating now, more impression than form. Lines of script floated loosely in his shape like strips of burnt newsprint. Where his face had once been an envelope, there was now only a blank canvas smeared with inkblot eyes. You have carried the 9. Now, return to the 1. Erica nodded. I don't understand who sent the first letter. Was it Kerrigan? Monday? Me. The courier paused, tilting its head slowly. It was not a man. Not a priest. Not even a postmaster. He floated closer. The air around him buzzed. It was the concept of regret. The first letter was never ink on paper. It was the first secret someone was too afraid to bury in their own mind. That secret became a message. That message needed to be stored. And what is a post office, if not a place to forget what should never be remembered? Erica's hands trembled. The vault wasn't built, she whispered. It happened. The courier nodded slowly. And now it remembers everything. Including you. Erica approached the vault door. Not the cracked stone vault beneath the post office, but the true one, now fully formed at the rear wall of the lobby. The mail slot was wide open. Blackness beyond. She held up the 9th delivery. It pulsed once. Then unfolded. The envelope peeled open like a flower. Inside was no letter. No name. Just a mirror. She looked into it. And saw herself. Not Erica Vale. Not the postmaster of Branch 9. Not the frightened girl holding undelivered letters. She saw her. The one she had always been. Before names. Before language. Before story. A shape made of questions. A soul sealed in intent. And behind her reflection. A hand emerged. Long ink stained. Fingers tipped with stamp like nails. It reached forward. Not toward the mirror. Toward her. And pulled ... She fell. Not physically. Not down. Inward. Through a corridor of post offices that had never existed. Branches forgotten by time. Floating doors. Stamped memories. Children singing addresses in dead languages. And then, a chair. Waiting. And across from it, a desk. A man sat behind it. He looked normal. No ink for blood. No stitched mouth. Just ordinary. Clean suit. Pale skin. A name tag on his chest that read, "The First Sender." He looked up and smiled. It was the most human thing she had seen in what felt like years. "Took you long enough. Erica Saturday. You created the system." He laughed. "I didn't create it. I just sent a letter. A long time ago. A very wrong one. The kind you don't want anyone else to read, but you're too afraid to burn. And I couldn't live with it. So I made a place to put it. One dead letter box. That's all it was supposed to be." He looked down. His hands were shaking. But dead letters attract dead thoughts. Forgotten sins. Secrets too heavy for confession. He slid a small envelope across the desk to Erica. Its label read, "To you. From me." This was the first one, he said. Erica reached out. The moment she touched it, she remembered everything. Every postmaster. Every vault. Every echo. Every message whispered to a wall. Every truth carved into silence. She saw the origin. A small town. A scared man. A secret. Too awful to keep. Too dangerous to tell. So he wrote it down. And stored it. But he couldn't forget it. So the letter lived. And the place became the post office. And the post office became the system. And the system needed more secrets. Because secrets are hungry. Erica opened the 9th delivery. Truly opened it. The contents. A mirror shard. A key. A single letter, A. The first sender smiled sadly. "It begins again. You'll be sending the next." Erica's mouth went dry. Sending to who? The room dissolved. She was back in Willoughby. At the counter. Alone. A new envelope rested in front of her. No seal. No markings. Blank. Inside. A folded slip of paper with a question. "Who do you regret never writing to?" Erica held the pen. She thought of her father. Her first love. The sister she'd stopped calling. The girl she'd once been. She wrote a name. And the letter sealed itself. Stamped. Branch 10, in progress. Postmaster, E. Vale. The building shook. The vault opened again. But this time, not from within. From outside. Something was knocking. 3 slow raps. Not asking to enter. Asking to be delivered. The knock came again. Thump. 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 Slow, deliberate. Each one reverberated through the bones of the building like the fist of an ancient god tapping politely at the edge of reality. Erica stood at the front counter of the Willoughby post office, now transformed into the epicenter of something far larger than mail routes and delivery slots. She stared at the vault door. Not the one underground, but the new one. It stood behind the front counter now, pulsing softly like a heart behind a veil. The stamp above it read, Branch 10, initiation pending. And beneath it, 3 new words burned across the blackened wood. Waiting for reply. Erica stepped closer. The air buzzed with static and anticipation. The envelope she had written, the one that bore a single name, the one that answered the final question, had vanished from her hands. Sealed. Delivered. But to whom? She looked around the front office. It was no longer just a room. It had become a liminal echo, part post office, part memory, part Threshold. 1 foot in this world. 1 foot in whatever came next. The lights buzzed overhead. They weren't fluorescent now, but organic, glowing sacs hanging from tendrils in the ceiling like pale, bioluminescent cocoons. The walls had started to melt into pages. Thousands of overlapping pages, like skin made of confessionals, shifting gently as if stirred by breath. And the counter, where it all began, held a single envelope. Stamped in gold. For your final reply. Recipient, unknown. Return path, branch 10. Erica picked it up. It was blank. Weightless. Silent. Until she thought about who it might be for. And suddenly, the envelope grew heavy. Not just physically. Emotionally. Weighted with something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Regret. Not for monsters. Not for the vault. Not for the system. But for herself. The part of her that wanted to stop. To walk away. To have never opened the first letter. To burn the dead mail and let the past fade. She looked toward the vault. The knocks had stopped. But the present remained. Waiting. She approached the door and lifted the envelope. The gold ink shimmered. The vault opened. Not with the violence it had before. No howling. No fracture of time. This time, it invited. Inside was no abyss. No tentacled thing. No tower of mail. Just a small office. Plain. Clean. Sterile. A desk. A chair. A filing cabinet. And behind the desk sat Erica. Herself. Not quite a reflection. But not an imposter. A version of her that hadn't walked this path. That had never become Postmaster 9. That never opened the letter. Never bled. Never descended into the vault. She looked up. Eyes soft. Empty. A mirror of the woman Erica used to be. Do you regret it? She asked. Erica swallowed. No. Why? Because someone else would have done it. Someone unready. Someone who would have fed the system instead of learning it. The other Erica nodded. Then write your reply. A typewriter appeared on the desk. Old. Black. Familiar. Erica Saturday. She inserted the blank envelope into the platen. And began to type. T.O., the one who waits outside. From Postmaster 9. Branch 10, initiation approved. You knocked. I heard. I reply. I understand now. That letters aren't just messages. They're containers. They carry what no one else wants to hold. I carried 9. I became 10. And now, I carry myself. This is the final reply. The last message. The first piece. She pulled the page free. Folded it. Slipped it back into the envelope. The other Erica smiled, then faded, turning to dust, then to light, then to nothing. The office melted. The vault sealed behind her. And she stood once more in the front lobby of the Willoughby post office. Alone. Except she wasn't. Behind her, a door opened. From it emerged a woman. Not a monster. Not a spectre. Just a woman. Dressed in a postmaster's coat. Her name tag read A. Kerrigan. Abigail. The lost wife. The one sealed long ago in one of the very first letters. She held out her hand. And smiled. You wrote it. Now let's deliver it. Erica smiled back. She took Abigail's hand. The envelope burned in her other palm. Not with pain, but with completion. The post office dissolved into light. The letters ascended. The vault closed. And branch 10 was born. Status, Branch 10, established. Postmaster, Erica Vale. Status, active. Incoming letters, 1. The silence that followed the founding of Branch 10 was not peace. It was the quiet before a reply. Erica stood in the center of what had once been the Willoughby post office. The building was unrecognizable now, its foundation rooted in both place and memory, stretched across space and time like parchment soaked in grief. The floor no longer creaked. It sighed. The walls were covered not in paint or wallpaper, but in countless faint names, written in invisible ink that only revealed itself in moments of stillness. Some were scratched into the wood. Some bled slowly from the ceiling like regrets finally allowed to drip. And at the far end of the lobby, nestled in the newly formed reception alcove, rested a letter. Clean. White. Untouched. Erica approached it slowly. The moment she touched it, her heart stopped. Not from fear. From recognition. The name stamped across the top in flowing black ink read. To Erica Vale. From Branch 10. Postmarked, tomorrow. She stared. Tomorrow? She hadn't written this. She hadn't even received any outbound request. She turned it over. The seal was gold. Embossed with the spiral eye, yes, but beneath it, a new mark. Infinity. She opened it. The air shifted. The walls leaned inward. Inside, a single page folded into quarters. She unfolded it. Her eye scanned the lines. The more she read, the colder she became. Dear Erica, this is your final route notification. You have served with distinction across 9 deliveries, and your role as founding postmaster of Branch 10 has ensured the stabilization of the vault's perimeter. However, a new delivery protocol has been triggered. The sender, unknown. The recipient, you. The letter you now hold is the one you will send. It does not yet contain its message. You will write it tomorrow, and it will arrive today. This is not a paradox. This is how letters work. You are not being warned. You are being reminded. One final thing. Do not answer the knock. Some doors opened both ways. The letter curled in her hands. Not because of the paper, but because something inside her twisted, a realization that hadn't fully bloomed yet. And behind her. Knock. 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 3 knocks. Not on the vault. Not on the door to the street. From the inside wall. Erica turned slowly. The wall behind the filing cabinets now shimmered slightly, as though something was pressing against it from the other side, waiting. Not demanding entrance. Just present. Expectant. The golden sealed envelope in her hands began to heat up. The message wasn't done. Because she hadn't written it yet. She sat at the desk. The courier appeared behind her. Now fully fragmented, his form nothing more than thousands of floating letters arranged in a human shape, held together by gravity and intention. You received it? He asked. She nodded. I'm supposed to write a letter to myself. One that hasn't been written, but already arrived. Yes. To warn me. To complete you. She stared at the blank paper. I don't know what it says. You will. Tomorrow. Erica turned in her chair. But it's already here. The courier paused. That's because the vault believes in loops. Pain is a circle. Secrets repeat. Deliveries cycle. Erica looked back down. There was no pen. Only her finger. She touched the page. Blood welled at her fingertip. Words wrote themselves. This time, remember. Not every knock is an invitation. Some are echoes. Some are mistakes. Do not open the wall. Do not let it see you bleed. She folded the letter. She sealed it. And as she did, she remembered writing it. Tomorrow. Alone. Before something came through. Before it saw her. Before it replied. The knock came again. Closer. The wall behind her rippled. The letters on it rearranged, forming a single word. You. Erica stood. Faced the wall. No, she whispered. You already got your reply. She slipped the sealed letter into the chute labeled internal loop, branch 10. The light above it turned green. The wall went still. For now. The courier stepped beside her. His voice sounded farther away. You have begun the cycle. You have stabilized the vault. For now. It sleeps. Erica didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just turned to the mail slot. And waited. Because she knew. Another letter would come. It came at 3:17 a.m. Not through the mail slot. Not from the vault. It appeared on the desk where Erica had written her looped warning the day before. No footsteps preceded it. No knock. No flicker of transition. Just you there. She had dozed off in the sorting room chair, head against the counter, when the sound of rustling woke her. Soft. Like a hand brushing paper. She sat up slowly. There it was. A letter unlike any other. Pitch black envelope. Edges frayed. No return address. No recipient. Stamped in silver across the front, in crooked, stitched script. The letter that rewrites you. And below that, as though someone had cut the words in with a needle. Do not read unless you are ready to end who you were. Erica didn't move. She didn't reach for it. Not yet. She just stared. And the longer she looked, the more her memories began to warp. Not fade, shift. She couldn't remember the courier's face anymore. Or the shape of the vault before branch 10. She couldn't even recall the name of the town she'd been born in. Each time she reached back into her own past, her thoughts slid sideways, replaced by static. And then, from behind her, a voice. It's a draft. She turned. The Postmaster General stood in the doorway. Whole. Solid. Still dressed in his black uniform, pressed with impossible precision. His face had changed again, this time, clean-shaven, with the gaze of someone who had read too many obituaries and had written most of them. It's not finished, he said, nodding to the letter. Because you haven't accepted it yet. Erica finally asked, accepted what? He stepped closer. That your role doesn't end with delivery. Eventually, you become the message. You're not just the carrier. You're what's being carried. Erica stood slowly, backing toward the desk. But I wrote the loop. I stabilized branch 10. You did. But the system evolves. Every branch gets rewritten. Every postmaster eventually becomes a page. He pointed to the envelope. That's your chapter. Erica picked it up. The envelope was warm now. Beating faintly. Not like a heart. More like a metronome. The rhythm of inevitability. She turned it over. Instead of a seal, there was a small mirror fragment embedded in the paper, cracked, slightly fogged. She looked into it and saw. Not her reflection. Not entirely. She saw versions of herself. Reading letters. Delivering them. Burning them. Writing warnings into the walls. Running. Dying. Becoming. It was her. It was not her. It was what the system saw when it looked at her. And scrawled along the edge of the mirror, as if written by a shaking hand mid-sentence. You've always been the message. You just didn't know where you were being sent. The general extended a pen. Simple. Black. The kind they issued in banks or at funerals. Sign it, he said. Or throw it in the slot and pretend the story ends here. But if you do sign it, you'll understand what the rest of us are. Erica took the pen. The air thickened. The letter pulsed in her hand. A signature line had appeared on the back. Postmaster, identity update request. She hesitated. The system wasn't asking her to quit. It was asking her to surrender. To become something else. Not human. Not monster. A letter. One that could be read by others. Felt. Delivered. Rewritten. She signed it. Erica Vale. The ink didn't just mark the page. It carved into it. And a pulse of heat erupted from the envelope. A shockwave of memory tore through her. Not hers, but hers now. She saw a boy in branch 4 reading her name aloud as a spell to open a locked drawer full of dying things. A woman in branch 2 screaming into an empty envelope and stuffing it into her mouth to swallow the silence. A child in a church drawing her sigil in ash and waiting for her to arrive. She was being written into their lives. She had become the paragraph that explains the horror. The footnote that defines the fear. The delivery that changes everything. And in that moment, she understood. The system doesn't write stories. It sends them. And she was now one of them. The Postmaster General smiled. You'll be delivered soon. Erica turned to him. Where? He nodded toward the ceiling. The mail chute. Now glowing. To whoever's reading this. The next recipient. The system has eyes on the outside now. Erica stepped onto the sorting table. She climbed into the chute. The letter still clutched in her hand, but it wasn't a letter anymore. It was a mirror. A window. A story. And just before the mail tube sealed behind her, she whispered, I hope you don't answer your next letter. But if you do, know that I'm coming. Somewhere far away. A letter appears. No knock. No warning. Just you there. Sealed in black. Stamped in silver. To Reader. From Branch 10. The system has you now. Somewhere, a light flickers on. Not in a building. Not in a room. In a mind. Yours. You don't remember requesting this letter. You don't recall signing up for Branch 10. And yet, you're holding the envelope now. You don't know where it came from. You only know it was meant for you. Black as obsidian. Edges warm. No return address. The seal is silver. Stamped. To Reader. From Branch 10. The system has you now. And just beneath that, etched so faintly you can only see it when the light hits it right. Open only if you're prepared to be seen. You hesitate. But something inside you, curiosity, guilt, fear, pulls your hand toward the flap. The wax seal melts at your touch. You open the envelope. Inside is a letter. The paper is not paper. It feels like memory. The ink shifts as you read, forming words you never wrote, but recognize. You've read too many stories you never finished. Ignored too many truths you almost believed. You've stood at doors and walked away. Now one has opened without your permission. This is not a story. It's a reply. And the system doesn't wait for your consent. We see you. We know you've been reading. And the system always reads back. You glance around. Your room? Your space? It's the same. Mostly. Except something's off. The shadows are angled wrong. There's a scent in the air, old envelopes, heat-dried ink, and the faint metallic bite of typewriter ribbon. Then, on the edge of your desk, or maybe just beyond your vision, a letter appears. Not the one you're reading. Another one. Plain white. Unsealed. Blank. Except for a single instruction. Write back. You feel it, don't you? A tension behind your eyes. A knowledge that this isn't fiction anymore. that it never really was. That somewhere inside you is a reply you've never sent. And now you're being given the chance. The courier steps from the corner of your vision. Yes. Here. He watches. Made of smoke, dust, ink. His face a stamp that bears your name. Your turn, he says. You look back to the blank letter. Pick up a pen. Your hand trembles. You write. I don't know what this is. I didn't ask for it. I didn't mean to open the door. But I've seen her now. Erica. And she's still falling. Still delivering. Still burning pieces of herself into others. If she's in the system, then maybe I am too. And if I am, then what's left of me to return? The letter folds itself. Seals itself. The courier takes it. Slides it into his bag. Delivered, he whispers. Then fades. You blink. Your space is quiet again. Normal. But only mostly. Because now, in the place where the black envelope first appeared, there's another one. Smaller. Grey. Shimmering faintly. Stamped in red. To you. From Postmaster 10. Incoming transmission, Chapter 19. The grey envelope waits. Still. Silent. Patient. It doesn't knock. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't demand your attention. It already has it. You reach for it, your fingers brushing the surface. It's cold. Damp. Not with moisture, but with time. Like something unearthed. Something left for you long before you existed. Stamped in red, clear and absolute. To you. From Postmaster 10. Incoming transmission, Chapter 19. And beneath that, in smaller type. This letter arrived before you were born. It has been waiting for you to catch up. You open it. This time, there is no paper. Only a slip of tape, old cassette-style magnetic tape, no larger than your finger, curled and coiled like something removed from a dyeing machine. Wrapped around it, one word scrawled in pencil. Listen. Suddenly, without moving, you hear it. A voice plays in your mind. It's not Erica's. It's not the courier's. It's yours. But younger. Unfamiliar. The version of you that still believed stories ended when you closed the book. I'm writing this to warn you. Not about the vault. Not about Erica. Not even about the system. I'm warning you about yourself. You've already been delivered. And you haven't realized it yet. This letter you're reading? It's the proof. The message isn't arriving. It's already here. You are it. You drop the envelope. It burns the floor, leaving no scorch marks, only words. They spiral outward from where the envelope landed, across the floor, across your skin, across your memory. You arrived long before you thought you did. You've just been waiting for yourself to catch up. You are not the reader. You are the delivery. You try to speak, to deny it. But your mouth won't open. You try to stand, but find yourself held in place by threads. Thin. Transparent. Made not of silk, but of intent. The courier steps back into view. Not ink now. Not paper. But light. Woven from the reflections of every surface in the room. His voice is clear, calm. You've read 19 chapters. But the 20th isn't written in text. It's written in you. You want to ask what that means. But the letter begins to speak again. Only now, it doesn't use words. It speaks in sensation. Your skin itches. Your thoughts shift. Your memories rearrange. You remember writing your first letter as a child. But now, you see that it was received. Not sent. You remember whispering your own name into a window once. And now you realize that whisper was answered. You remember a dream you had. A door that knocked back. Only it wasn't a dream. It was chapter 1. The envelope is gone. But the room is not empty. A new desk has appeared. Familiar. Old. A typewriter on top. And beside it, a uniform. Black. Trimmed in red. Stamped on the sleeve. Postmaster 11. Pending acceptance. You hear a chair shift behind you. Footsteps. Soft. Careful. Erica stands there. Different now. Not fully herself. Not fully anyone. Part letter. Part idea. Part warning. She speaks only once. Deliveries don't stop. Even when the reader does. She places her hand on your shoulder. And presses. You wake up. At the desk. Wearing the uniform. The tape now unwound beside you. The courier gone. Erica gone. Only the typewriter remains. Waiting. You slide in a page. Begin to type. The first words appear. Chapter 20. You were always the postmaster. Clack. 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 The typewriter's keys move beneath your fingers. You're not thinking, at least not consciously. You're remembering things you've never known. Writing words you didn't know you had in you. And yet they pour out, letter by letter, sentence by sentence, as if they were waiting just beneath the surface of your skin. The page on the platen drinks in the ink eagerly. You were always the postmaster. Even before you read the first letter. Even before you knew what a delivery was. You were chosen. But not by the system. By the message. The message that needed a body. A name. A vessel. A way in. You stop typing. Your hands are shaking. Because somewhere deep in your mind, you feel it. The letters. The system. The vault. They were never just places. They were functions. Roles to be fulfilled. Chambers that must always be occupied. You didn't volunteer. You were recognized. And now, the typewriter begins to type on its own. You watch the keys move without touching them. Every postmaster is a reader first. And every reader becomes a door. You opened yourself the moment you said yes. You are no longer reading this. You are being read. The desk shifts. The wood warps into something darker, older, engraved with thousands of overlapping return addresses. The air behind you thickens. You don't need to turn. You know what's there. The vault. Your vault. The one meant for you. The room dims. From the ceiling, a cord descends, a single string tied to a new envelope. Red. Throbbing faintly. Sealed with a pinched, waxy fold of skin that pulses like a heartbeat. You stand. Take it. The label reads, T.O., the reader who finally understood. From Postmaster 10, retired. Status, transferred. You open it. Inside. A single page. Blank. Until you read it. Then, slowly, the words appear. 1. Buy. 1. It's yours now. The office. The letters. The pain. You won't be asked to deliver at first. You'll just receive. But soon they'll write back. They always do. And when that time comes, you'll have to decide. Send it forward or seal it inside. The letter curls in your hand. From the typewriter, a final line hammers itself into the page. The position has been filled. The desk retracts into the floor. The lights die. And you're left standing alone in the center of the office. Your office. The first knock comes immediately. You turn toward the sound. An envelope slides through the chute. Not black. Not red. Not stitched. Just plain white. Addressed in familiar handwriting. Yours. T.O. Future Me. From you, right now. Open when you've forgotten what silence feels like. You pick it up. Hold it. You don't open it yet. You don't have to. Because you already know. You were always the postmaster. You were just waiting to remember. Silence. That's how it all began. Before the courier. Before the vault. Before Erica. Before you ever opened the first letter. There was a moment of silence so complete. So pure. You mistook it for peace. But silence is never neutral. Silence is a waiting room. A place between what was whispered and what has yet to be said. And now, standing in the dim light of branch 10, your branch, you realize the silence is gone. And you've been living in its absence for far longer than you thought. You hold the envelope in your hand. T.O. Future Me. From you, right now. Open when you've forgotten what silence feels like. You didn't write it. Not consciously. But it's undeniably yours. Your pen stroke, your spacing, the slight curl of the art in your name that no one ever notices but you. It's the kind of letter you only write to yourself. When you know the future version of you will be. Too lost to remember who they were. You peel the flap. Its size open. Inside, the page is soft. Worn. Not paper. Not memory. Something in between. You unfold it slowly. The words inside are not instructions. They're reminders. Hey, I know things are loud right now. Louder than they've ever been. You're hearing voices that don't have mouths. Reading letters that write themselves. You're being delivered into places that weren't meant for human minds. But stop. Just for a moment. Breathe. Remember the quiet. Not the absence of sound. But the moment before the letter arrives. The hush of possibility. That's still inside you. You are not just the carrier. You are the threshold. And not every knock has to be answered. You sit down. The words settle around you like a warm coat after a long night in the rain. Because it's true, isn't it? Somewhere along the way, you stopped listening to your own stillness. You let the system speak through you. You let the vault define you. You became the reply, the echo, the thing that comes after. But not now. Not this letter. This one is different. This one is yours. You look around the office. The usual rhythm. The flickering lights, the breathing walls, the buzzing mail slots. All of it has gone quiet. Not dead. Not asleep. Just still. Waiting for you to finish reading. You fold the letter. Set it on the desk. And for the first time in countless chapters, you choose not to write anything back. Not yet. You leave the desk. You walk the perimeter. You touch the walls and feel them not press back. You open the back room and find no courier waiting. You look at the vault. And it doesn't hum. Not even a little. It's resting. Because you are. And now, for the first time, you listen. And what do you hear? Yourself. Not the voice that answers letters. Not the one that stamps and seals. Not the postmaster. Just you. That quiet, that stillness, was never meant to last. But it was always meant to be found again. A soft breeze passes through the building. No source. No logic. Just presence. It rustles the envelope you left on the desk. The one to future me. You glance at it. The ink has faded. In its place, new words. You remembered. That's enough. And then, The knock returns. But this time, it's different. Not demanding. Not ominous. Just curious. As if someone, somewhere, wants to know if they can come inside. And for once, you don't answer. You smile. You sit at your desk. You close your eyes. And you let the silence wrap around you. You never opened the door. You didn't answer the knock. You chose silence. And for a moment, it felt like victory. The world, your world, held its breath with you. The walls didn't bleed. The vault didn't groan. The lights didn't buzz. Even the courier stayed gone. It was perfect. But only for a moment. Because some letters don't wait for permission. It arrives as a breath. A shiver down your spine. A flicker behind your eyelids. A feeling that someone else just took a seat in the room you thought you were alone in. And when you open your eyes, there it is. Lying on the desk. Unannounced. Undelivered. Yet present. The envelope is made of flesh-thin paper, translucent and pale. You can already see a dark smear of something, ink or blood, within. There's no wax seal this time. Just stitching. Actual thread. Sewn into the paper in a zigzag, holding it closed like a wound trying not to reopen. Written in soft graphite on the front. T.O., the one who thought silence was enough. From the vault. No return address. Because it never left. You stare at it. Your breath fogs. Even though you didn't invite this one in. Even though you let silence stand like a wall. The system found a crack. And this letter is the result. You pick it up. The stitches hum. When you pull at the thread, the envelope sighs. Not a sound. A feeling. The way an old regret sighs from under your bed after a year of being ignored. You open it. Inside, folded 6 times too many to be natural, is a page soaked in dark fluid. You unfold it carefully. It resists. Then yields. The message inside is handwritten. The script is familiar. Because it's yours. But it's not from you. It's from the part of you that never stopped listening. You thought silence was a wall. But silence is a hallway. And you've been walking it ever since the first letter arrived. I am the letter you never meant to send. The apology you almost whispered. The scream you swallowed. I come anyway. Because some deliveries are inevitable. Because you knew I was coming. Because you wrote me the moment you chose to stay. You sit. The letter curls slightly in your hand. The fluid on it, still warm. Your name isn't written anywhere on the page. But the feeling of it is. And at the bottom, a final line. Would you like to write back? You think for a long time. Because you realize now what silence actually is. Not an end. Not a shield. Not even a pause. Silence is the space where the next word waits. And this letter? It came because of your silence. Not despite it. You take a fresh page. Slide it into the typewriter. You begin to write. To the vault. Yes. I hear you. Yes. I tried to shut the door. Yes. I failed. And maybe that's the point. Because if letters like you arrive even when we hide, then maybe that's when we're most honest. Maybe the message doesn't care about consent. Maybe it only cares that it's heard. So yes, you were heard. Now go back. I have more letters to deliver. You fold the response. Slide it back into the stitched envelope. And the moment you place it in the outbound slot, the stitches reseal themselves. The envelope crumples, turns to ash, and is gone. You lean back in the chair. And this time, when the next knock comes, you're ready. Not because you want it, but because you know now. It's part of the route. The knock doesn't come right away. Instead, you hear a whisper. Soft, nearly shapeless. A sound not made with breath, but with memory. Like the way a voice echoes in your head long after someone is gone. Like the sound of regret when no one is there to regret it. It slips through the mail slot. You don't even have to look. You already know another letter has arrived. You cross the floor. The office is cold. The kind of cold that doesn't touch your skin but seeps into your thoughts. Like the realization that something has been sitting in the room with you for hours. Watching. Waiting. And only now chose to speak. You pick it up. The envelope is yellowed, brittle, curled slightly at the edges. It smells like mildew and basement dust. Stamped in faded red, barely legible. To unclaimed. From unknown. This letter has no author. Your name isn't on it. But somehow, you know, it's meant for you. Because no one else would dare open it. Because no one else would be willing to read what everyone else tried to forget. You peel it open. No seal. No glue. Just a flap folded over on itself, as though it never expected to be touched again. Inside, the page is blank at first. But the moment you blink, words appear. One by one. Scratchy. Shaking. Not typed. Not penned. Carved. I don't remember writing this. But the paper knows my hand. I think I was trying to confess something. Something I never wanted anyone to read. And yet here you are. I buried this letter inside the walls. Between bricks. Under paint. Beneath time. But the vault never lets anything stay hidden. So now you're holding what I couldn't carry anymore. The signature is smeared. Not in ink. In blood. Fresh. Despite the letter's age. You stare at the smear. You touch it. It's still warm. Something shifts in the office. A painting on the wall, one you never noticed before, tilts. It shouldn't be there. You never hung it. But it's there now. A faded image. A mailroom. A figure slumped at a desk. A hand reaching for a pen or a blade. You step toward it. As you get closer, the painting begins to peel from the wall. Not like canvas, like skin. You pull it back. And behind it, a hidden letterbox. Rusty. Hinged. Unlabeled. You open it. Inside, the mirror. But it doesn't reflect the room. It reflects a writing desk. And on that desk, the letter you're holding. Still unwritten. Still waiting to be carved. You understand now. This letter. You wrote it. Not now. Not today. Later. Or maybe earlier. Somewhen. You carved it in a moment of weakness, pain, shame. A confession you couldn't allow to exist unless you also forgot it. So you mailed it. Into the wall. And the system kept it safe. Not out of kindness. Out of duty. Because some truths must be filed. Even if they aren't ready to be read. And now you've read it. Your own secret. Your own guilt. Your own blood. Returned. Delivered. Stamped. No one remembers writing it. But someone had to. You fold it back up. Slide it into the mirror box. Seal the flap. But you don't lock it away. Instead, you do something new. You write back. To whoever I used to be. It's okay. I know why you couldn't carry this. I know why you had to forget. But I'm here now. And I remember. So rest. Whoever you were. Whoever I was. I'll carry the weight now. I've got room. You close the box. This time, you don't feel haunted. You feel lighter. Not clean. Not whole. But bearable. And sometimes, that's enough. Behind you, the typewriter clatters. You didn't touch it. But it typed a single line on its own. The next letter will know your name before you do. You don't remember falling asleep. But when you wake, the lights are dimmer. Not off. Just faded. Like they've been waiting too long. You sit up in the chair behind the desk. The air feels warmer somehow, like the office has been occupied, watched, while you slept. And on the desk in front of you is another envelope. You didn't hear it arrive. You didn't dream it. But it's there. Heavy. Black. Embossed. And already, your name is on it. No initials. No alias. No postmaster title. Just your full name. First, middle, last. Even if you've never told it to anyone here. Even if you haven't thought it in weeks. Even if you haven't seen it written since the day your own memory fractured. Stamped across the top in silver ink. T.O. your name. From unknown. The letter that knew you before you knew yourself. You hesitate. This one feels different. Not cursed. Not monstrous. But close. Intimate. Like a journal entry written in your own hand, but in someone else's house. You open the flap. The paper inside is smooth, creamy, too perfect. It has weight. Like history. Like ceremony. And written across the first line, in deep violet ink. I've known your name longer than you have. You pause. The words are familiar. But they aren't yours. They're spoken through you. Like you're remembering something from a lifetime that didn't belong to you, but left its handwriting behind. You keep reading. You carried so many names since this began. Postmaster. Recipient. Reader. Vessel. But none of those are the one I gave you. Not the one I used the day I first wrote you into existence. Yes. Wrote. You've always felt delivered, haven't you? Like you landed in this story from nowhere. Like a letter with no postmark. Like a message without context. That's because you're not a character. You're a reply. I wrote a question into the system long ago. And the system answered with you. Your breath catches. Not out of fear. But recognition. The courier once told you the system doesn't just send letters. It sends answers. Delivery shaped like truths. Or people. Or memories in bodies that don't quite fit. You look down at the name on the envelope again. It's yours. But it wasn't until someone gave it to you. And now you see it. The letter is not just a message. It's a claim. The next lines form slowly, as if the ink is breathing with you. Your name is your key. It unlocks the next vault. But be careful. The moment you speak it aloud, the system will rewrite your path. Because names are not just who you are. They are where you are going. Say it only if you're ready to become the question again. You fold the letter. Seal it back into its envelope. You don't need to read more. You've read enough. You stand. Your voice is steady. Your lungs full. You are not afraid. You speak your name aloud. First. Middle. Last. 3 syllables. 3 knocks. The lights go out. For one heartbeat, you think nothing's happened. Then, the room shifts. Not violently. Not with chaos. But with recognition. The walls inhale. The desk pulses beneath your fingers. The mail slot opens, not physically, but conceptually. You are no longer in branch 10. You are in transit. The floor peels away. Beneath it, Letters. Thousands of them. All written in your hand. All addressed to names you've never heard, but somehow know. You are standing on a foundation of your own confessions. And they're waiting. Because you're no longer the postmaster. You're the message. You always were. And now, it's time to be delivered. You fall. But there's no air rushing past you. No weightlessness. No scream building in your throat. Because this fall isn't physical. It's directional. You are moving not through space, but through context. Through the narrative of your life. As if it's collapsing inward, folding you toward its center. You fall through every name you've ever been called. Through every letter you've opened. Every reply you've written. Every silence you mistook for safety. Until, finally, you land. You stand in a room. Not a room like any you've known. It's vast. Endless. Circular. The walls are made of filing cabinets. No windows. No doors. Just drawers. Each labeled with a name you've forgotten. Each locked. Except for one. Dead center. Unlabeled. Partially open. Inside it, a single envelope. It rests on a velvet tray, waiting like an artifact pulled from beneath a cathedral floor. You don't touch it. Not yet. Because you know where you are. You've reached the final address. The vault at the end of the route. Not a vault. The vault. The first. The last. The one that sends all other vaults. Where letters go when they've finished their deliveries. Where messages end. Where truth lives. And now, for the first time, you are not the reader. You are not the postmaster. You are not even the vessel. You are the letter inside that drawer, waiting to be opened. You step forward. Lift the envelope from the tray. It is sealed with your name. Not written, branded. Burned into the surface. It hums with potential. You open it. The letter inside is small. Compact. Folded so tightly it cracks as you pull it open. There is no ink. No paper. Just a single sentence carved into something that feels like bone. You were never meant to be delivered. You were meant to deliver others to this. And beneath that, a question. A final one. Scrawled not in language, but in feeling. A question that bypasses your eyes and implants itself directly in your spine. Will you open the rest? You don't need to ask what rest. You look up. Thousands of drawers. All closed. All locked. All full. Letters addressed to people who have yet to understand they are part of this system. Letters too dangerous to be delivered. Unless delivered by someone who understands. Someone who's been read. Someone who has fallen. Someone like you. You stand in the center of the vault. A new key appears in your hand. Small. Bronze. Warm. It hums in rhythm with your heartbeat. The drawer nearest to you clicks open. Inside. An envelope. Stamped. T.O. Branch 11. From Vault Prime. Attention, carrier confirmed. The typewriter appears behind you. A desk. A lamp. A chair. All waiting. Not for a reply. For orders. Because you are no longer the postmaster. You are the courier now. Not the same one who guided you. Not a spectre. Not a warning. You are the courier that moves between truths. The one who delivers the letters that no one else dares carry. You sit. The drawers begin to open, one by one. Thousands of letters rising from the dark. Each bearing a name. A location. A time. And one instruction. deliver before it remembers itself. You begin to type. Not messages. Not stories. Coordinates. Instructions. Warnings. Rewrites. One for every person who might one day read. The letter that you now are. You do not sleep again. You do not stop. Because the vault has given you the route. And there is no end of the road. Only the next address. The next soul. The next silence to break. The drawer is open. First in pairs. Then by the dozens. Then in waves, thousands yawning outward with mechanical grace, like lungs exhaling forgotten truths. Each one contains a letter. Each one bears a name. But these names are different. They're not people. Not exactly. They're possibilities. They are routes that never happened. Choices not taken. Moments aborted in the minds of those who would not face themselves. Unread. That's what they're labeled. Burned into the backs of each envelope. Unread, and therefore unlived. Unclaimed, and therefore dangerous. Because what isn't read still waits to be believed. And the longer it waits, the louder it wants. You begin sorting. You don't remember when your hand started moving. It just happened. A flow of instinct that comes not from the mind, but from the roll. You aren't writing letters now. You're selecting them. Preparing them for their first, and maybe only, delivery. One envelope reads. 2. The man who almost apologized. From the memory of his daughter's locked door. Another? T.O., the woman who forgot what her laughter sounded like. From the mirror she avoided for 10 years. Another? T.O., the reader who skipped chapter 9. From the knock they didn't hear. Each letter is personal. Each one a blade. Each one written in a moment of vulnerability. Then sealed before it could be acknowledged. And now they're your job. To deliver. Not to houses. Not to buildings. But to lives. To people walking around unaware that a version of themselves was once brave enough to put the truth on paper, but too afraid to open it. These are the most dangerous letters in the vault. Not because of curses. Not because of monsters. But because of what they awaken. And you? You're the match. You process the first delivery. A drawer to your left slides open fully. Inside, a sealed black envelope. The label is shaky. Handwritten. T.O. Jacob R., the moment before he changed his mind. You don't know Jacob. You don't need to. The moment you pick up the letter, his entire route unfurls in your mind. You see the kitchen table. You smell burnt toast. You hear the voicemail he never deleted. You feel the exact second he almost forgave someone, and then didn't. That's your window. You slide the letter into a dispatch slot. The drawer closes. Somewhere in the world, a knock will come. A letter will appear on a nightstand, or inside a locked glove compartment, or behind a painting no one remembers hanging. And Jacob will read it. Or he won't. But either way, the system will have tried. Another drawer. Another letter. Another name. Each one a pulse in the map of all things unspoken. Each one a splinter of reality that never quite healed. As you work, you notice something else. Some letters, maybe 1 in every 100, have no label. Just a blank front. No sender. No recipient. At first, you set them aside. But they keep coming. Until they make a stack. A pile taller than your arm. You touch one. You feel nothing. No memory. No context. Just silence. Unread. Even by the vault. You realize these letters were never finished. Not written by others. Written by you. Future you. The part of yourself that hasn't happened yet. The part that hasn't broken down enough to confess. Each letter in that stack is a warning. A glimpse of what you might become if you don't keep delivering. With care. The courier's voice returns. Not aloud. Just a memory stitched into the walls. The moment you stop delivering, the vault starts writing you instead. You return to your task, but with a new urgency. Because you realize now, you're not just delivering the unread. You're trying to stay ahead of yourself. You're trying not to become a letter someone else has to carry. You finish 10 dispatches, then 20, then 100. You lose track of time. But time, of course, has already lost track of you. You pause. A new envelope. This one cold to the touch. Stamped not in ink, but ashes. The label. T.O., the final recipient. From blank. Your hands go still. Because this one isn't for someone else. It's for you. But not you now. You at the end. The final stop. The moment before all deliveries stop delivering. You do not open it. Not yet. Because to read that letter is to know how it ends. And you're not ready. Not yet. You tuck it inside your coat. And return to the drawers. Because you're still delivering. And the unread are waiting. You notice it only after your 12th dispatch of the day. If days even exist here anymore. You're returning from the far edge of the vault. Arms empty, mind quiet. When something tugs at the corner of your vision. A frame. A shadow. A shape that shouldn't be. You turn your head. And there it is. A door. In the middle of the wall of drawers. Cut into a section that's never had a seam. It doesn't glow. It doesn't creak. It just is. The door is wooden, plain, grey with age. The paint is peeling, and the doorknob is made of tarnished brass. The kind that still carries the warmth of every hand that's touched it. There's no sign. No plaque. No authorized personnel only. But the hairs on your neck stand on end just the same. Because you know, instinctively, painfully, that door wasn't there before. And now it's only there. You approach it. Each step feels like walking into a memory. You promised you'd never revisit. You reach for the knob. It turns too easily. The door creaks inward, just a little. Enough for you to feel the draft behind it. Not cold. Not warm. Familiar. The scent of old paper and wax seals. The way fear smells when it's aged long enough to be quiet. You push the door open. Beyond is a hallway. Unlit. Narrow. Longer than it should be. Lined with frames. Picture frames. But without glass. Without images. Only fragments of letters. Torn. Burned. Blotted out. Each one nailed to the wall like a warning. As you walk down the corridor, you begin to read them. Only a word or two on each. Some you recognize. Some you don't. Some you feel. Even though you can't read the ink. Never meant to see it. But she opened it anyway. They asked me to burn it, so I buried it instead. Don't let them write you in. The hallway stretches longer with every step. You know this isn't physics. This is narrative inertia. You're going deeper. Not into a building. Not into a vault. But into a chapter that was never supposed to be opened. Until now. At the end of the hallway. A mirror. Tall. Thin. Framed in rusted iron. It doesn't reflect the hallway. Or you. It reflects a post office. Decaying. Empty. But not abandoned. Because in the reflection, someone sitting at the desk. You. Only not quite. They're younger. Thinner. Their hands shake as they seal an envelope. They glance up, and their eyes meet yours through the glass. Not a reflection. A window. Then they speak. Muffled. Far away. But the words reach you anyway. I didn't mean for you to get this far. They lift a letter. You recognize the envelope. Grey. Tattered. Stamped, final recipient. They smile, sad and tired. I wrote it, so I wouldn't become it. They begin to burn it. But the flame dies. The ink runs instead, bleeding out across the floor. Across the mirror. Across the space between you. The mirror shatters. You recoil. But the hallway is gone. The vault is gone. You are alone in a field. A mailbox stands in the middle of the grass. Black. Swaying in a wind you cannot feel. There is one envelope inside. The same one. Final recipient. Your hands move without your consent. You open it. Inside is a single card. No letter. No message. Just a phrase burned into the paper. If you don't deliver yourself, the system will. The mailbox tips over. The sky goes black. And just before it all fades, you hear your own voice ask, "Who delivered me?" And the system replies, "You did." Black. Thick. Pressing. Not like the absence of light, but like you're buried in old ink. The kind that's dried into every fold of the page. The kind that's been written over too many times. And still can't forget the original story. You open your eyes. There's no ceiling. No walls. Just mist. And something beneath your feet. Soil. But not earth. It crunches softly with every step. Not like dirt, but like paper. You kneel. Scoop a handful. Pages. Ash soft. Blackened. Every grain of dust is a shredded, burned letter. This isn't a dream. You've arrived at the postmaster's graveyard. You walk. The fog parts as you move through it. Rows rise ahead of you. Not tombstones. Mail slots. Canted crookedly in the ground, half buried like bones. Hundreds. Thousands. Some cracked open. Some still sealed shut. Each one bearing a postmaster's mark. Not a name, but a glyph burned into the metal. Not written by them. Written on them. You stop at one that glows faintly. The seal is split. The door ajar. Inside. A scrap of uniform. Charred. And an envelope. No address. Just a line of text. Failed delivery. A soft voice echoes behind you. Most of them thought they could deliver everything. You turn. A woman stands there. Weathered coat. Crooked satchel hanging from one shoulder. Her hair is grey, but her eyes are the colour of old stamps, faded, forgotten, stubborn. You know her. You don't know how. But you do. She gives a tired smile. Some of us got here trying to outrun a delivery. Others tried to send back the ones we weren't meant to read. She gestures to the field. This is where they all end up. You ask, quietly, all of them. Her face darkens. Everyone who thought the system could be beaten, that the letters could stop. She steps forward, holds up an envelope. It's blank. The paper still warm. Still beating. Yours isn't here yet. You take it from her. It's the same envelope you found in chapter 25. T.O., the final recipient. From blank. But this time, there's a second line. Written in small, shaking type. This one delivers itself. You look around the field. There's a mail slot not far from you. Empty. Waiting. Open just enough for one letter. You ask her, if I put this in, what happens to me? She shrugs. Depends. Some vanish. Some wake up. Some take over the whole system and become a new rule. It's not about what's in the letter. It's about whether you're brave enough to mail it. The envelope is heavy. It doesn't just contain a message. It contains you. Every word you've written. Every letter you've carried. Every silence you've broken. This is your version. The one that knows it all. And you only get one chance to send it. You approach the mailbox. It shudders as you near. Not in fear. In anticipation. You kneel. Hold the letter to the slot. For a moment. You pause. Because part of you knows. Once you send yourself, you can't be the same again. But the system doesn't wait forever. You slide the envelope in. It vanishes with a sigh. The mailbox closes. And the field begins to shift. The ground cracks. The air fills with the sound of paper tearing in reverse. Dozens of mail slots seal themselves. The glyphs on them flash. Not red, not gold, but white. Delivered. Released. Acknowledged. You've just set something loose. Or maybe, something free. The woman watches silently. Then nods. You passed. You ask, what was the test? To see if you carry yourself all the way to the end. You did. She points past the field. A hill has appeared. Atop it, a door. Old. Splintered. Stamped in silver. To Branch 11. From Graveyard 1. The system is yours now. You climb the hill slowly. Each step presses the pages beneath your feet deeper into the soil. The letters, the regrets, the unanswered truths. And with each step, something heavy inside you lifts. You feel it, the weight of unread things. Settling behind you. You aren't leaving them behind. You're elevating them. The door at the top waits. Not with menace. Not with threat. With invitation. A sign is bolted above it, metal worn smooth. Branch 11. Access authorized by completion. There's no keyhole. No lock. No riddle. Just a single circular seal on the wood, etched with your own glyph. The moment you press your palm to it, the door opens inward. Inside. Silence. But not the kind that haunted you in Branch 10. This is purposeful silence. Like the breath between thoughts. Like the pause before a letter is read aloud. The air is soft. Dimly lit. Golden. And the walls? They're made of mail slots. But unlike the vault or graveyard, they are empty. Unlabeled. Waiting. A desk sits in the center of the room. Not cracked. Not dusty. New. Polished oak. A typewriter rests on it, sleek, untouched, keys made of bone-white enamel. And beside it, an envelope. Red. Sealed in gold wax. Stamped. T.O., the first author of Branch 11. From the system. Your hands don't shake when you open it. Inside. A letter, handwritten in looping calligraphy. Congratulations. You are no longer a message. You are no longer a courier. You are no longer the one who must be read. You are now the one who writes. Branch 11 begins with you. The system is not an infinite loop. It is a library. Every letter you send from here will become part of someone else's route. You may craft stories, warnings, confessions, mirrors. But you must always tell the truth. No matter how it twists. No matter how it ends. The letter crumbles into ash in your hand. Its weight now transferred to the page waiting in the typewriter. The drawers around you buzz. Not with ghosts, not with rot, but with expectation. You understand now? Branch 11 isn't just your promotion. It's your testimony. The system gave you chapters to survive. Now it's giving you a pen. You sit at the desk. Insert the first page. And write. T.O., whoever is reading this. Yes, it's real. Yes, you've been chosen. No, you're not crazy. You're part of it now. Every knock you ignored. Every chill that passed without a breeze. Every story you read and thought, this is too personal. They were letters. And now you're delivering them. Welcome to Branch 11. Where the mail never sleeps. Where the authors know your name. Where the endings are earned. Yours begins now. The typewriter chimes. The drawer beside you opens. The envelope vanishes into the slot. Your first delivery. Outside, the world stirs. Someone out there is about to receive a letter. One that starts just like this story did. With silence. With a knock. With a name they don't remember giving. And just before the letter's opened. They'll feel it. The moment you pass the torch. It begins again. But this time, you're the one watching it unfold. Your hands rest on the desk at the center of Branch 11, the typewriter before you still warm from your last message. Outside your window, the fog doesn't roll in, it waits. It's learning to be polite. You feel the drawers behind you shift softly as the system exhales. It's not sending you letters anymore. It's sending you lives. The first one arrives just after midnight. A drawer creaks open. An envelope slides out onto the polished desk. Simple. Grey. Thick. No address on the front. Just 2 words burned deep into the surface. Return to sender. Your heart skips. Because you recognize the handwriting. It's yours. From before you ever sat at this desk. From before the vault. Before Erica. Before the knock that started everything. You don't know when you wrote this. But you know exactly what it is. You open it. Inside, a letter, sealed in wax. You break the seal. Read the first line. I don't want this anymore. There's no signature. No date. But the voice is unmistakable. This is a version of you. One that cracked early. One that found a letter they couldn't handle. One that tried to send it back. And the system let them. Not out of mercy. Out of necessity. You read on. I didn't ask for this. The letters. The knocks. The dreams that felt more real than my own body. I tried to play along. Tried to be brave. Tried to understand the rules. But no one told me what happens when you start seeing your own handwriting on pages you never wrote. No one warned me about the moment you realize your story isn't being told, it's being recycled. So I'm giving it back. This burden. This name. This route. You finish reading. The envelope disintegrates in your hand. Ash flutters softly onto the desk. And beneath the ash, a new piece of paper appears. Blank. A reply. You load it into the typewriter. You don't hesitate. To the one who sent themselves back. I know you're afraid. You should be. But you're not alone. You think this burden is permanent. That once you read your name on a page, it can't be erased. But names don't bind us. What we do with them does. You're not broken because you turned around. You're still part of the route. Even now. Especially now. Return to sender? Fine. Here's what you forgot. You were the sender all along. You just didn't know it. Come back when you're ready. The system is always listening. The typewriter chimes. The letter slides into the slot. Dispatched. You sit in the silence that follows. But it's not empty this time. It's full. The drawers hum with life. With stories. With other versions of people who aren't quite ready to be read. Some of them will make it. Some of them will come back. Some of them will become letters themselves. But now, you know something you didn't before. The story never ends. Not because it's infinite, but because it always returns. Behind you, the walls shift. A new door opens. This one outward. No lock. No label. No glyph. Just a breeze. And a world waiting for stories that still need to be told. You stand. Take your satchel. Your keys. Your name. And as you step into the unknown, you knock.